Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Number one. Taiwan number one. What's up, dudes? Yeah, like the live. Like it. What's up, Joseph? Yappin commences. Who can say the most words while meaning nothing? Challenge. Me. Been a while since you got alive. Well, don't worry. You've missed literally nothing. If ever nothing ever happens, it's here. It's here in the land of make-believe. Scary Diddy freak-off stories. Yeah, do you think they'll have a freak-off in the courtroom with Diddy? Do you think they'll just bust out the baby oil mid-deposition? Wouldn't that be funny to find out one of the judges was at a Diddy party? What if that came out? What if Diddy gets acquitted of all charges and you find out the judge was actually at every freak off? Just kidding, that's not gonna happen. I am kind of expecting Diddy to plead not guilty, to be honest, because honestly, when you're facing a tidal wave, you gotta stand your ground and roar like a warrior, even if you are going to get crushed. Would you rather know when you're going to die or how? Yeah, I guess if you knew how, you could probably determine when as well. But then it would be strange, because honestly, would that even be possible? Because it's like a time paradox or whatever, where your decisions going forward would influence that. But then at the same time, I imagine the decisions would also basically be predetermining that outcome anyways. So you would just end up there, and the knowing how is already under the interpretation. It's going to tell you that it knows how. So it's just an ongoing loop. How lucky are we? Me and my son are just saying, let's try and get some sleep. We need a bedtime story. Then the phone dinging. Here we are. I knew it. I knew it was bedtime. I knew it was my awake time. Joel, my mom listens to your podcast too, and from work, my mom and always listening to. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Tell mom I said hello. Hello, mommy. If you have a terminal illness, you know how. You know, that might be true, but somebody could be on their way to their radiation treatments and get hit by a train crossing the tracks, or perhaps an asteroid. Unforeseen circumstances. Yeah, and here's the lightning. I broke the fuck out of my tooth on a pizza bagel today. Jeez. Was the tooth just not in good shape? I'm just thinking a pizza bagel, unless it was very, burnt to a crisp. It was burnt to a crisp and then frozen outside or put in the freezer for a year. These are just the rules of the Death Note. Yeah, I didn't know there were these rules. What's up, Ollie? How go with it? How is everybody doing? What did you guys do today? Oh, I have to set it to live chat. Sorry. It's only showing me the most tippity-top chats. They're pretty crunchy, but I think I had a cavity. It's way back in the back. I never noticed. Oh, damn. I guess that's where it gets you usually. The areas that you just don't know. It does make me wonder, you know what I mean? Like, if we had, presumably shitty dental care long ago, did those people still get cavities if they were just eating like cooked bison and rice? I got into Culinary Institute of America. Anyone have 70K I can borrow? Oh, damn. That's cool, though, Christy. How long is that? Is that like a 2-year thing, or... What did I do today? Honestly, not a whole lot. I had to go run some errands. And then I was just kind of in a trance from those errands, and then hung out with a friend for a while till the stream started. Reddit stories, aka incel basement dweller stories. True. Except it's femcells. Detroiters. Been listening to Let's Read while doing laundry. Hey, that's the only time to do it, really. We're all just talking about tooth care the other day. Oh, damn. And you're like, I'm on top of it. I floss every single second after every meal. And your teeth was at low integrity levels. Yeah, recent graduates, that's freaking sick. Hopefully everybody made it through school. It's kind of funny, like one of my friend's cousins, he was about to graduate college, but then he for some reason handed in one paper to his class like a week late. I don't exactly know why he did that. Maybe he forgot or something. And then now he has to take that whole class over because he failed it and can't graduate. Just funny, because I'm fairly certain he was going to grad school later too, so I'm like, I guess that's probably on pause for a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it was a blessing. Sometimes when one door explodes, another also explodes. Your boss dropped out because he didn't want to be stuck in a cubicle. Hey, that's fair. That doesn't sound very fun, honestly. I should just move all cubicle work to at home. It is interesting, though, because I've never, you always see that sort of represented in media, like being stuck in a cubicle and working all day on a computer and then talking at the water cooler or something like that, but I genuinely don't even know what life in a cubicle would kind of look like. You know, I don't think I've ever seen that. I may have seen that, actually, maybe at like an accounting office or something like that, but I guess there's like an accounting department I saw at one point. But I'm trying to just imagine like what life just stuck in a giant business cubicle would be like. Maybe a call center. I feel like a call center would be some specific type of hell to exist in. It's past our bedtime. It's 4:15 a.m. in the UK, and we stayed up watching Doctor Who. Hey, I've just survived radiation treatment. I've not been hit by a bus yet. Kicked that breast cancer in the arse. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Congrats. Look out for the buses. Do not take public transportation. I do have a curtain cubicle, that's true. Maybe my cubicle is actually worse than any cubicle ever, because I'm just isolated inside my own little world. Did a call center job for like 3 years. Super boring. Yeah, that sounds... I don't know. Yeah. At this point, it's like we are sort of just in this stage of humanity where if you have a certain... Especially if you're in the Western nations, it's like, if you have an idea for something you want to do, you might as well just do it. My baby is 5 weeks old and doesn't want to sleep anymore unless he is on me. He's a Velcro baby. That's cute. That would be tough. I mean, what if once they fall asleep, can you set them down then? I've been in a dark fucking place since last week. Almost considered calling it a life. Now I'm still wondering what I chose to live for. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess we need to know some more specifics, but I don't know. I always thought that if I was at my lowest point or whatever, I would just... Well, I don't want to give terrible advice, but I always kind of thought if it got to that point, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just like hitchhike or go hiking one direction and just like see what happens. Just choose a direction and go and see how far I can make it. And who knows, maybe life will come to you. What made you want to do YouTube and tell stories? I just wanted to make content and live, a YouTuber life and make money. And let me be honest, it's something I don't think I will ever go back from. No matter what really the circumstance is, I probably still always try to like look for some sort of creative outlet to like make money doing. Because why the hell not? Tough times never last, only tough people. Mr. Worldwide. I often think to myself, like, if ever there was like probably a secret like cocaine kingpin, I feel like it's got to be Mr. Worldwide. What's his name? Pitbull? I don't know why I have the vision in my mind, but I just imagine like Pitbull on tour going to like South American countries is probably just like the most depraved backstage you've ever experienced. That's me just thinking outside the box, though. I don't know for certain. Do you have free time? I heard YouTubers work a lot. I have free time for sure, lots of free time. I just, but as of lately, I've taken on a myriad of like other projects to kind of fill that time, and it's kind of knocked me out of my my routine a little bit, and just like kind of have to really plan my shit out. Streams become later and later. I'm out of that headspace now. My heart hurt so bad and my mind's at war. What about going to the gym? Sometimes you can shut your brain off by like going to the gym and just like doing things, Put some music in and just hit the weights. Or like go on a long run or a walk. Did a kick-ass job on the No Sleep podcast. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was a really good story, and there was a lot of like positive reception to it, so I really hope to do a lot more. What's up, Scott? My dream would actually be able to make a living as an author. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what because there's so many different possibilities. I just don't even know what the steps would be for that. Hey, Helen Goodlet. Thank you for the big 20. Says, love the stories, I'm addicted. Thank you, Helen. Very kind. How did you record the No Sleep podcast? Yeah, same way I normally did. You know what I mean? Just recording a story and submitted it through their system, and they edited it and got it up in one of their most recent episodes. It's story number 3 in episode 22 of season 22. Going to the gym or getting out in nature and walk helps me. Yeah, I mean, it helps everybody, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this modern world is just geared towards what our minds have, like, evolved into or whatever, It's just our innate sense of satisfaction sometimes as humans really just comes down to, like, staying busy. And sometimes that busyness is, like, usually involves a lot of surviving. And sometimes when you're exercising, it kind of feels like you're simulating survival, Checking in from Austin, Texas, 88 degrees tonight. What's the weather by you? Yeah, it's not too bad, honestly. It's humid, but I think it's in like the high 60s. I graduate from college tomorrow, and I've been watching you since 8th grade. Thank you for the great content. You're welcome. That's wild. That's a long-ass time. We've been at it for some time. What would I need to start my own YouTube channel? Any software? Well, you would need some way to record voice, right? And you can record your voice into Audacity, because Audacity's free. And then you would need like a video editor, which like I think DaVinci Resolve is actually free, and that's a good video editor. So, and maybe some Photoshop to make your thumbnails and stuff. It's really not terrible once you find your rhythm. You just have to figure out what kind of content you want to make. And you might need like recording equipment if you're going to obviously show yourself or show whatever you're making for content. So it is a bit of an investment, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. Legitimately being outside is the best you can do as a mood booster. I agree, yeah. Being near friends, going on a walk with friends or somebody. Just doing something. Do I volunteer on the side? I don't, no. I'm not even sure where I would volunteer, to be honest. I volunteer myself as tribute. Taking my vitamins, why is it so freaking hard for me to remember? Yeah, it is tough to remember those sometimes. Alright, let's get into it, guys. We got Reddit stories tonight, and a lot of them to tell. It's spooky time. Take your pills. Oh, yes. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. What's the common theme of the Reddit stories tonight? Really nothing. Just being from the website Reddit. Probably going to be a lot of girls getting stared at and feeling creeped on. Good to see you too. I was 22 years old when this happened. I worked in a grocery store which had been featured in the news. I cannot say the word the. I always say duh. I've been thinking of videos like psychological breakdown of horror and crimes. Do you think anyone would watch that? I think so. Yeah, I think psychology, if you could somehow incorporate that into like analyzing certain character studies, whether it's like a serial killer or somebody, you know what I mean, like psychologically analyzing other people, maybe creating correlations between different psychological theories or philosophy. I think that could be really interesting. That's something I would definitely watch if it's interesting enough, for sure. Is it my subreddit or just Reddit? It's just Reddit in general, but I do have some from my subreddit as well. I was 22 years old when this happened. I worked in a grocery store which had been featured in the news, and you could see me in the clip, and it was clear where I worked. I just came back from vacation, and a coworker told me that some guy had been coming around every day for a week asking for me. When I asked who or why they told me, they had no idea, but he was around my age and seemed a little off. A few hours passed by, and my coworker came and told me that the guy was back and again asking for me. We'll just call this guy James. I can't even remember his name anyways. In the back room, we had a computer and you could see all the camera footage from all over the store. I looked and didn't recognize who James was, but decided to go ask what he wanted, and he was clearly drunk and said that he had seen me on TV and wanted to ask me out. I replied, "I'm sorry, but I'm in a relationship," even though I was single. I said that I needed to get back to work, and he asked me if he could come. You know, honestly, I might just throw this in the grammar editor right now, because just save my time, save myself here. Fix the grammar. Don't change anything. Are you telling us a story or are you just chatting? I am telling some stories, but it's kind of both. I'm basically recording my stories for tomorrow's video, so it's sort of like a ADHD back and forth, which some people find annoying, but some people are able to find the gems within the rough. Is Pradeep with me? He is not there. Oh, he's in the chair behind me, all curled up in a little ball. Thoughts on chicken Caesar salad? They're good, yeah. And I hate iceberg lettuce, though. Iceberg lettuce, I think, is like... It's weird when you go to, like, an Asian restaurant, and they'll have, like, some of the most delectable and pretty... You know what I mean? Like, it's a high-end type place, so it's, like, really good shit. And then if you get a salad, it's just, like, iceberg lettuce with, like, orange jizz on it. And I'm just like, who the fuck... Why do they... You know, at least give me some fucking, like, arugula. Agrugagra. I said that I needed to get back to work, and he asked me if he should come with me. I was confused and said that I am working, and he then left, but I could see him through the cameras outside the store drinking. A few hours had passed, and he was waiting for me outside, so I had to use another exit when I left. The next day I came to work and saw him waiting for me outside the store. He had this huge smile on his face and walked up to me. He was really shy and didn't say a word until I said hey while passing by to get into the store, and he followed me inside and said that he needed to talk. I asked him what's up, and he replies, "How about we go to the movies?" At this point, I could tell that he was really creepy, and I replied, "I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend, remember?" And as I walked away, he started following me and asked if he should... And as I walked away, he started following me and asked if he should come with me. God damn it. I think one of the bad things about like just kind of like grabbing random stories from Reddit and not really like vetting it is sometimes I feel like you might get some like nothing, like hardcore nothing burgers, and it sort of like pisses people off. Salad, are you a narcissist? You know what's kind of funny? Do you ever think like if you told somebody something bad about yourself, people would immediately believe it? But if you tell something good about yourself to someone, they don't always believe it. Like if on my stream I were to say like I can fly, or I've got a room full of like gold, you guys would be like, oh, that's a bunch of bullshit. But if I said that I'm a narcissist, for some reason we're just like inclined to immediately believe the negative lies rather than like positive ones. Not saying you should believe either, but it's just funny. Am I opposed to reading fiction? I'm not, but it's just, you know, the channel's kind of built around the true scary stories kind of vibe. And even though I will be honest, like a lot of those like fictional stories do really well. When I do the compilations from like the bonus content stuff, honestly, I wouldn't mind getting back into those because those were a lot more fun. Whereas like these are kind of like, they start to blend together, and maybe that's why people fall asleep to it. I've been trying to get back into writing short stories as writing exercise. I'd love to send some over for your consideration. Yeah, if you do write fiction, please do send it over. Email me, letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com, and yeah, let's do it for bonus content, because then eventually it will make it into like a larger compilation video called like Scariest Stories Ever Told. And the, you know, if it's like a longer compilation like that, they seem to do well, you know. So yeah, that would be a great contribution, and you know, obviously I'd be happy to pay you for your work and stuff. I don't think a narcissist would admit to being one, so I wouldn't believe it. That's true. But just in general, it's like a thought exercise. Like if someone tells you a negative trait about themselves, but and I guess it makes sense. Like there's really, you know, no pattern recognition to most people. Most people don't lie about themselves negatively, so why would you not believe it? But I don't know. As I was walking away, he started following me and asked if he could shoot. I can't, for some reason, he should in this sentence makes no sense. As I was walking away, he started following me again and asked if he should come to help me with my work. No thanks, I replied, once again, and I looked at the camera footage, and yet again he was waiting for me outside. And at this point I started asking my male coworker to escort me safely to the tram every night when my shift ended. I started getting really scared once this had been going on for a while, and he clearly wouldn't leave me alone. I asked my brother if he could drive me to work on his motorcycle and hug me outside my workplace, so it looked like he was my boyfriend, and James would maybe finally leave me alone. Since I knew he was somewhere watching and waiting for me to get to work, but that didn't seem to help. I started getting messages like, "Is that your boyfriend?" and "He doesn't need to know if we go out." And I was confused about how he had gotten my number. I asked all of my coworkers, and a new one said that she had given my number because... Wham bam, thank you, Tram. You'd say a lot of negative things about yourself, but I think it's just a self-deprecation thing. Oh yeah, no. I mean, I guess you would have to differentiate between that. Point out mistakes when you do a million things right with nothing. Yeah, it's all good. Never mind. People are naturally wired to keep themselves safe, so yes, I think people would believe negative lies more easily. Like, for example, I'm a narcissist. Right. Yeah, it's just... But it almost makes you wonder then, like, whenever you get to believing, you know, if you're, like, more inclined... Why is it then that we're, like, more inclined to believe without question negative or incorrect things that other people say. You know what I mean? Like, why is it that rumors, for the most part, just in any sort of like consumption of media, whether it's the news or something about some person, why is it that we're so sort of inclined to immediately associating the reputation or perception of reality from what they say that may or may not be a lie to be true? You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just strange that most people don't seem to like have that level of like discernment or have that level of double checking things or even like taking someone seriously at their word. Spread positive rumors. Yeah, that would be a good one. You miss the days when nobody knew what a narcissist was. Well, yeah, because now the attribution of calling someone a narcissist kind of like doesn't hold as much meaning anymore. You know, because it's like there's no agreed upon definition, and it's sort of just used, like thrown around a lot of the times to sort of just like reputation destruction somebody. And so if you call, you know, if everybody is a narcissist, then nobody's a narcissist, essentially, because the word means nothing. I asked all of my coworkers, and a new one said that she'd give him my number because he said he was a friend of mine. And I was pissed. At this point, I asked my male coworker to throw him out if he ever came back, which was a lot to ask. And a couple of weeks went by without any harassment, and I finally thought that he had left me alone. But boy, was I wrong. I came to work one day and was changing in the changing room and heard that we have a new coworker, and it was for... I came to work one day and was in the changing room and heard that we have a new coworker and it was his first day. I didn't think anything of it and proceeded to change my clothes. Once I got out of the changing room, my jaw dropped. Another coworker said, "Hey, this is James." And I looked in horror as she asked me what was wrong. I said, "I know. This is the creep that had been stalking me for weeks." As James started to smile, I went and searched for my boss to ask him what in God's name happened. My boss said that he had no idea that this was my stalker and kind of just laughed it off as no big deal. And I told him, either he leaves or I will. And he said that I wouldn't have to work the same shift as James and that he couldn't fire him right there. But he lied. I had a lot of shifts with him, and whenever I went, he would just follow me without saying a single word, and he would just continue to follow me. I would often have my lunch break by the computer so I could see where he was, and every day I could see him just staring at me behind me as... Okay. I think people confuse control with narcissism now. It's not actually... Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these sort of like psychological definitions have been conflated. Like that, I would say probably over a decade ago, those kind of like integrations of armchair psychology has started to pop up due to its sort of prevalence on the internet. And then I think that culture, due to like people being younger, hearing it and being on the internet, it just starts to like permeate outwards and be sort of ever present through like most social media, and therefore just starts to water down the meaning of the word over and over again. Psychology is tricky. Well, yeah, I mean, the human mind is tricky in and of itself, so like, I don't know. It's really hard sometimes to have like genuine respect for the field, because you hear people and you get so many interpretations, so many like incorrect diagnoses, and then at the same time you kind of wonder in and of itself if like most of it is just kind of like abstract theory, you know, because it's just like the mind trying to understand the mind, but each individual mind is about as presumably unique as the, you know, a thumbprint or something like that. Obviously there's similarities, but it's clear that each person should be treated, I think, individually or approached individually. Crystal Melton, thank you, and welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Like, I heard something the other day that it was actually pretty unhealthy for a lot of like therapists to kind of like have a client ruminate upon their weaknesses, you know, if they're depressed or whatever it might be, to constantly have them kind of like talk about being depressed, think about being depressed, you know what I mean? Like to constantly ruminate in those negative identities in many ways could potentially have more of a negative outcome, because you start to identify more so with those traits and almost like confide in it or exist in it. And you have to ask yourself, like, maybe that's not, because like is there going to be like what would be a faster development or a faster healing away from those negative traits if you're constantly existing in it as a sense of identity, or I don't know, maybe existing in a positive perception of the future or something like that. Do you think Skittles is an excellent placebo for curing heart disease? I think if you believe it real hard. The hardest. I would often have my lunch break by the computer so I could see where he was. And every day I could see him just staring at me, behind me as I ate, as we had a lot of cameras there also. And this went on for a while. He would text me every day, but at work he didn't say a thing, just sit there and stare. Now my boss finally understood what a freak James was, and that he really didn't do any work either, just kind of stalking me, and started to think of ideas of how to get rid of him. And one time I noticed James was clearly drunk at work, and I finally told my boss. And thankfully that day, he got fired. And this is when the stalking finally stopped. Alright. Well, that was story one. The only positivity comes from positivity. Positivity cannot come from negativity. Yeah, I guess I do understand that perception, If you're just existing in a state of the world is ending, then you always think that the world is coming to an end, and therefore always be in like a kind of a state of anxiety and a state of like internal stress, whether you even realize it or not. I've noticed when meeting new people, most will tell you the worst things that ever happened to them right away. We seem to focus on the negative as a society. I prefer positivity. Yeah, it is kind of strange. Like it's difficult to like trust people that kind of throw all their negative stuff at you at once, because I don't know. I've come to realize like I don't even know if really anybody necessarily wants to hear about my negative stuff. Like obviously they do and they'll listen, but you have to have like a pretty healthy dose of like 3-to-1 mixture. You know what I mean? Like say 3, not that you have to like follow it identically to that, but say 3 positive things before incorporating anything negative, about your perceptions of reality to someone. Otherwise, I think it starts to weigh on them as well. If they continuously associate you in a 3-to-1 ratio that you're negative all the time, then they probably don't look forward to like continuing the interaction as a human, and there'd be a difficult friendship to maintain. Andrew with the 5 says, my therapist would have me stand nude in front of a big mirror and chant that I am beautiful and God hates me. Damn. New therapist technique just dropped. Hey, Nathaniel, thank you, bro. We choose our thoughts, though. Well, that's a good point, too. I mean, I think a lot of the times thoughts do kind of come out of nowhere, the origin of which it's hard to say. But it does, but I think we can choose our speech, for sure. So the things that come out of our mouth, if we choose, in a strange way, like a repetitious sense of like focusing on the positive. But it does have to be actionable as well. You do have to have actionable things in your life that you do to make positive change. I feel like that's got to be something. If you're in hell, the only way out is through, and there is a way, though. True. It's exhausting to the listener if it's chronic. Yeah, that's why I like having like a family member, especially a family member, because you're kind of stuck with family. And if a family member is like negative all the time, that's like sometimes one of the worst people to be stuck around. Even though I'm into psychology, I don't like therapists personally. They haven't done much for me. Yeah, what is your experiences been, Alex? What would maybe be more of the positive or negative things from that? Not a fan of focusing on positive. You don't deal with the negative stuff. It'll come out in the worst ways. Okay, that's true. what would you say, like, as far as, like, how to approach the negative then? Because my perception is, like, if the negative doesn't seem to, like, lead to self-improvement, I mean, obviously you don't want to ignore your problems, but if you're always, like, harping on it all the time without any sort of direction or solution in mind, then, like, focusing on the negative is essentially just, like, chasing your tail. That's what shadow work is for, like shadow boxing. Yeah, overused like every day, every other popular psychology conditions. Unfortunately, I have lived with many narcissists in my life, and be able to identify that psychological abuse is important. It's difficult. You desire to have compassion over. It's the individual does not want to improve themselves. You can't help them, and it becomes enabling of destructive patterns. That's true too. And you can see a kind of change in somebody. Like, I have friends who will tell me about, like, their plans for the future, like, I'm going to do this business, or I'm going to do that, this and that. And then I'm like, well, then do it, you know? And then, or like, are you going to do it? And they're like, well, I don't know. I got this, and that. And it's like, well, why are you telling me? Like, is telling me somehow, like, you know, manifesting it or getting the same sort of dopamine feeling in your mind by just, like, not, by telling me about it but never doing it? Maybe that's the case. Because I feel like maybe I'm guilty of that for sure. You kind of, like, have such an active imagination that just, like, thinking about a positive future sometimes can feel like that without, yeah, well, it's like speaking it into existence is great, but it's like, it's not like someone's just going to show up and, like, make your life better. Like, you have to take the steps to do said plan, you know. Katie, Arvia, thank you for the 2. And David, thank you for the 1, my friend. Feelings are quite alluring. This happened about a year or so ago, but I just read something fairly familiar, and it reminds me of how it still gives me the chills. I have 3 kids who are around 9, 7, and 2 at the time, and also living with my husband. We live fairly rural in the UK, just on the outside of a small village. Every night I always check the door is locked, and sometimes even the chain put across as well. This night, alright, let me just run it through grammar again. It's just easier that way. How many stories? I think we got 9 stories tonight. We gotta bust through. I got a busy day tomorrow. I had therapists all throughout my childhood, and not here to tell you a sob story, but no, it's okay. But they tried to change who I was since I displayed some neurodivergent tendencies. I'm not diagnosed, but as a kid, I was odd. Was it like trying to change you and send you down a path that would have been, like, not so good? I have episodes of derealization, so sometimes saying certain things out loud does make them feel real, if that makes sense. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. What's up, Emma? Speaking for what you want to do is a form of holding yourself accountable to those you respect. Speaking for what you want to do is a form of holding yourself accountable to those you respect. Yeah, but I mean, like, wouldn't it be, I guess, more respectful to actually, like, follow through on said speech, I guess? I mean, I'm not trying to put the friend down that I was talking about, but it's just, it was weird then. I noticed I was like, whenever I said, like, well, why don't you do it? It was like something triggered in their mind, and they, like, looked at me, like, making, like, direct eye contact, almost like I was, like, threatening some degree of comfort in their life, you know what I mean? It was like, you can just, like, see it, you know? This night, I was woken up very abruptly by a harsh banging on the front door. At first, I thought it was just someone drunk, thinking it was their house, but then they started trying to turn the handle. My husband wasn't near the door, and I stood on the stairs with my phone in case I needed to call someone. My husband told the man that he had kids in the house who were sleeping and to go away right now, and the man started rambling and slightly slurring his speech. It wasn't extreme slurring, but his voice was... It wasn't extreme slurring, but his voice wasn't quite right. It seemed clear that he was either on something or very mentally unwell. He kept asking for a certain woman by a name, and my husband told him that there was no one here by that name and to go away. And the man kept insisting that we were hiding her and said he was coming in. Now, during this time, there were a lot of strange sounds coming from behind the door. Thumping, scratching, and another sound that I couldn't quite place. My husband then told him that I had... Sorry. I have to move my fucking shit around real quick. Sorry. Joel ate my therapist. All I got was this t-shirt. Absolutely swallowed whole. I'm just a big snake that unhinges my jaw to every therapist I meet. That'd be kind of a good R.L. Stine book, but it's like R.L. Stine for adults. It's like, my therapist is a big snake. Or no, my patient is a big snake. Where do I find happy, optimistic people? I'm serious. Where can I meet these kinds of people? Probably people that go outside. Probably people that work out. I'm not even joking. Probably people within, religious context. But, positive religious ones. I know that there's some perception of the negative, but I think there's a lot of positive out there. Just people that have, a positive spiritual and physical outlook on reality. You probably don't meet them online. I'm going to be honest with you. If you hang out with, and this is, I'm, being nice here, but it's if you have people that exist on Twitter all day long and all they do is ruminate on negative political things. I mean, it's fun, I'm sure it's fun to kind of cathartically talk about your favorite politics or your thing and being mad at, indirectly at certain things. But those kind of worlds, they tend to be a lot of negative people who just, that's an outlet for them. That's their exercise, that's their future, and it's not a healthy future. It's constantly fixating on someone outside of themselves as being the problem rather than looking within. And I think challenging yourself physically and getting appropriate diet and fresh air and doing constructive things, with other people is gonna really help your mental. Well, yeah, I'm not meaning people here necessarily. We try to be but I mean, I know there's a lot of negative spaces within the internet, whether it's meeting people on social media or various other no Twitch stream. Yeah, I stopped doing the Twitch stream because it's not it was really growing that much anyways, and simulcasting I think kind of cuts into my stream quality overall. I'm not exactly sure, but it's something I just didn't, it's something I kind of wanted to troubleshoot here for a little while. Free will's not as free as many think. Yeah, what do you mean by that? Or yeah, wondering how much free will you have when it comes to focusing on that negativity. Yeah, well, the reason being is your thoughts can be really sometimes say I had too much caffeine or too much nicotine or something like that, and suddenly my thoughts are racing, and I can clearly isolate the issue to that stimulus of a substance, which might be also something within your own life that you might be able to hone in on. It's am I drinking too much alcohol? Am I, around some sort of not so good person or bad company and that kind of thing? But I just notice when I'm fucking lifting weights, there are some times where those intrusive thoughts come in. But if I'm out jogging and my only fucking purpose is to make it to that stop sign before that car does, or I'm gay, you know what I mean? It's I gotta do it. It's you're in animal mode. And when you're in animal mode, how many times do you see a fucking sheepdog who's herding sheep or catching a fucking frisbee? They don't seem very unhappy. But have you ever seen a sheepdog when he's stuck inside all day and he's just staring at you, waiting to go on a walk? He's probably like more anxious than most humans are, just sitting there thinking like, what the fuck are we doing, dude? What the fuck are we fucking doing? Let's go fucking outside, baby. Let's go outside. And, you know, so humans are built to work just like the sheepdog, and I think that's just where you need to, if your negative thoughts are starting to capture you, just need to get out there and be an absolute dog. We're all bound by the limitations of our own neurology. Oftentimes a lot of people don't realize how few decisions they actually make. Well, I mean, I hear that to a degree. Like, I mean, I know sometimes like we're kind of just dealt the cards we are as far as our personality goes and our drives. But I also don't want you to use that as like a limitation to like keeping you from just doing actionable things in your life to making it better whenever you quite literally can. I'm not saying I fully understand your mind either. It's just that when I hear that, I hear like a kind of nebulous perception of reality that seems to be like more philosophical, and it sounds like it's a philosophy that may limit oneself, you know what I mean? Movement and somatic processing is wildly helpful with maintaining healing mental health. Yeah, I mean, how good is it when you're like on a walk with a friend, you know, you join the pacer. I mean, how many times you see so many old ladies, they're out like fucking, they got weights around their ankles and shit, and they're fucking like hoofing it, like, hoo, 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 you know, but they're with their like friend that they've had since they were fucking 10 or whatever. And they're probably bitching about somebody or talking about their husbands, you know what I mean? But it's, yeah, they're jazzercising, they're in the zone, and it's like, I think that's just a part of, like, you kind of have to hack the body in a way. That's just like a part of human nature, is to be moving and talking, you know? We're social, we're physical and social beings, so it's probably just what you need to do. This night, I was woken up very abruptly by a harsh banging on the front door. At first, I thought that it was just someone drunk, thinking it was their house, but then they started trying to turn the handle. My husband wasn't near the door, and I stood on the stairs with my phone, in case I needed to call someone. My husband told the man he had kids in the house who were sleeping and to go away right now. The man started... I went back way too far. The man started rambling and slightly slurring his speech. It wasn't extreme slurring, but his voice wasn't quite right. It seemed clear that he was either on something or mentally unwell. He kept asking for a certain woman by name, and my husband told him that there was no one by that name here and to go away. And the man kept insisting that we were hiding her and said he was coming in. During this time, there were a lot of strange sounds coming from behind the door. Thumping, scratching, and another sound that I couldn't quite place. My husband then told him that I had called the police. He gave a few more frantic thumps and then, I assume, left because we heard nothing else. We didn't hear anything like him attempting this with the neighbors either. And for a few hours I waited in case he came back. I had a tennis racket that I would have used if I had to, and luckily it didn't come to that. In the morning, since it was a weekend, I decided to go check outside, and honestly, I felt a little ill. There was a massive dent in the door, which I thought surely couldn't have been caused by a fist alone. And then, on the door and the panels near it, were fingernail marks and blood. It was enough that it needed to be washed off. A tennis racket. She just hits him with the tennis racket, and his like head blasts off, and she just beheads him with a tennis racket. Ah! Just absolutely explodes his head. You're the only one buffering? Damn. Is Miss Cookie the only one buffering? Yeah, diced head. It just turns into a bunch of cubes. It is kind of funny because, like, in the UK, I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like in the UK, the sense of, like, self-defense is not quite the same as in America. Like in America, we would have, I don't even know, we'd have like a claw machine that we built into our house that whenever someone steps through the door, the claw machine would like open and like grab them from both ends and rip them in half. But it's just funny to hear like some person at home who is under the interpretation that a tennis racket would do something and they hope they don't have to use it. It's good to be back in chat, Joe. I gotta write a story. When I was driving Uber and had a creepiest drug dealer passenger named Joel, but he called himself Joel. Dude, the Uber driver shit is fucking scary. Like, there's a terrifying number of people who get robbed and killed as Uber drivers, and you never fucking hear about it. Like, go look up the statistics on, like, Uber driver murders every year. I'm not trying to fill you with scares or anything like that, but I feel like there needs to be, like, some type of, I don't even know. It wouldn't be very efficient, but some type of background check on the people who get to use Uber, because it's just a fucking Wild West world out there with that shit. We tend to think of our minds as a single unified thing, but it's made up of many parts with different priorities and views on how to approach things. It's kind of like a Congress. Oh, okay. Like you mean like the subconscious and conscious, that kind of thing? Or do you have like specific examples by chance? Because it's curious. I like ideas of the mind. I always had the best conversations in Uber. Seriously, I've met so many cool drivers. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cool drivers. It's just scary, the idea that as a Uber driver, that at any moment you could just like have someone get into your car in the back seat, and then they're just, I don't know, or they rush you from somewhere and they have a ski mask on and a gun, and then they rob you for probably next to nothing, but then still kill you because, hey, why not? Don't have to get into wildly technical terms. I mean, it's okay. Whatever. And you can, even if you dumb it down for us, I do find it interesting because, you know, you think about someone, all those like psychologists from the past, or even like, I mean, really like modern psychologists, which I feel like you don't even hear about anymore recently, is like modern psychology. Like there used to be all these like popular psychologists of the turn of the century, Freud and Carl Jung and things like that, who kind of like were philosophers in a sense. And I guess you still have that today, but maybe I'm just not paying attention enough to the contemporary people. But I don't hear about like any famous psychologists anymore or any of their interesting ideas. And maybe that just means we haven't really come that far. Fight or flight, once that activates, there ain't nothing your prefrontal cortex, the clever reasoning part, can do to override that. I guess that's true too, because if you go into like a panic attack, like my friend talked about panic attacks whenever he was struggling with his addiction to Ativan, that he didn't even know he was addicted to until he started having panic attacks. And it was like he would start working out, go on a jog or whatever, start sweating, but then it would just like go into like full heart palpitations that he thought like was something else, and then he just like couldn't control the anxiety that was coming from just like light exercise that he previously had no issues with. And then he like finally narrowed down his issue was the external intake of Ativan or the benzos or whatever. And so yeah, I can imagine, yeah, from a purely chemical standpoint, you could send your body into these like cascade effects, you know. What's a red room? I don't know. I remember the red rooms from like the dark web whenever we would read about that shit. Hey, Lady O, how are you? I'd love to hear people's experiences, lucid dreaming and astral projection. Find it fascinating. Yeah, I think there's some subreddits like that. And I think I've read some on my channel like long ago. Dude, that's so true. The wrong meds or just what's not right for you can literally make the most basic activity feel like a boss fight. Yeah, that's why I'm always kind of just like, my perception toward like modern psych medication, it just doesn't even feel like it's like come that far comparatively to when it was first invented in like the 1800s or some shit. I don't even know. What's your fight or flight response? Seriously. Oh, you don't know what it is. I guess it's just like well, we can look it up to like really define it. The fight or flight response is a rapid and automatic physiological reaction to perceived danger or stress. It prepares the body to either fight the threat or flee to safety. This is a response that's triggered by a release of stress hormones, primarily adrenaline and cortisol, which can cause a cascade of physical changes. So kind of like if you know what I mean, like if you're near a homeless guy who keeps like twitching or something as you're trying to like, you know, get your fucking shit out of your ATM or whatever. You just like, you're in the back of your mind, you always have like something ready to either like run or fight. Or maybe like if you see a tiger, in the wild, your fight or flight response will kick in and you're like, well, do I fight or do I try and jump on its back and ride it? Hey Liz, what's up? Typing the key sounds like cartoon typing. Yeah, it's kind of exaggerated. You need advice? We got you, dude. We're gonna make a bunch of stuff up in our head and say it's true. And dictate the outcome of your life right here tonight on Let's Read. You did an Uber in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So many sad and creepy things, from kids trafficking themselves to groups of criminals getting rides. Kids trafficking themselves? What the fuck? Like going to someplace? A group of criminals getting rides to their crime scenes, and I'm a sixth period. I met 4 people on the run. Yeah, that's fucking... Yeah, there should be like some ability to like turn down rides or like kind of like background check people with that. I mean, I guess how could you tell with like a kid and some crazy shit like that? I don't even know. Have you ever considered breathing out spores? I should. That's honestly how humans should get other humans pregnant. It was just spores that we let out. My friend is hanging out with a girl, and I don't know why it's making me jealous because we're just friends. We're actually all friends. Oh, okay, so it's a boy who's a friend that's hanging out with a girl. I mean, that's pretty normal, I guess, like a certain sense of control. I think girls do get jealous of men in their life pretty frequently. Like, I remember having a friend, she literally only dated her boyfriend. They ended up breaking up. But she only dated her boyfriend because she saw him talking to another chick at work, and then she got jealous. And then at that point, she just started liking him, and then they, you know, dated, moved in together. I think eventually got engaged at one point, and then she cheated on him. And then they broke up. So you don't even want to be jealous. Yeah, you know, once again, it's just one of those sort of maybe a stress, like it's in the same way of the fight or flight response of stress hormones releasing in your body. It's sort of a strange, abstract, like primordial response within your brain of like, I don't even know, like reproductive nonsense. Like, welcome to what it feels like to be a fucking dude. Yeah. We have to fucking like push those thoughts out of our mind 24/7. Horror on the Rocks. Appreciate you lending your voice. Oh yeah, fuck. I gotta read that. I forgot, dude. I'm sorry. How long is it? Shit. Are you gonna be around for a while, Horror? Because I'm like out of order right now. Oh shit. I don't even know. Oh, there it is. Okay. Shit. Okay, it's not too much. Sweet. Because I'm going to record to the end here, but if you... I'm going to like record these Reddit stories, but if you could... Well, maybe I can pin this somehow. Can I connect those? No, I can't. But thank you for the 2, dude. Yeah, please do. It's not long, and bro, take your time. Okay, thank you. Do you know the difference between jealousy and envy? I don't think so. Let me look it up. Jealousy versus envy. Let's see. Merriam-Webster says, while many people believe that jealous means fearing someone will take what you have, and envious means desiring what someone else has, Historical usage shows them both meaning covetous and are interchangeable when describing desiring someone else's possessions. However, when referring to romantic feelings, only jealous can be used to mean possessively suspicious, as in a jealous husband. Okay. A jealous Liz. Maybe I just can't be friends with him? Well, it's hard. It's hard if you find him attractive, you know what I mean? Like, guys and girls, if you both find each other attractive, it's going to, you know what I mean, just like natural. That's why, like, people, you know, if you're dating a dude and he's like, I'm gonna go hang out with my best girlfriend from work, like, the first thought in your head is like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean you go hang out with a girl from work? You know what I mean? And that's a natural, understandable response from both ends, because, you know, it's like you would obviously want to trust them, but especially if they're attractive, like, you know, there's going to be that temptation there. It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate aspect of the male and female dynamic with one another, but, you know, it is what it is. And you either tell him how you feel about yourself, or like see if he's interested in you or something, or if you know, because it sounds like you might have like some sort of internal crush on him, and it would just like get rid of the stress in your mind if you disassociated from that. But at the same time, you could also just like eventually turn, maybe if they like started dating and you saw it enough times, you would just like not care anymore and still be friends with them, in which case would that other friend be jealous of you then? You know what I mean? It just sounds like it's a kind of a typical mess. Rumble, what's up, Kenny? Yeah, it was kind of funny. I had my I have my videos on Rumble, which is like a YouTube alternative, and one of my videos, the editor there put it on the front page, which was very nice of them. I'm very thankful, and it got like close to 600,000 views. But I only got like 500 followers total, and I think I had like 300 before that, so kind of sad that it didn't really get much attention over there. But I think that's primarily like a political site. He just got to have a relationship, so he doesn't want anyone, but not being wanted is like so triggering, whether you want them back or not. For me, how often do I go live? I go live every Sunday and Wednesday night, usually pretty late. My videos on Bumble? No, Rumble. Then, on the door and the panels near it, were fingernail marks and blood. It was enough that it needed to be washed off. Between the door and where the bins are, there was a smashed ashtray, also with blood on it in lots of pieces. One of the outdoor plants had been tipped over, with the plant and soil all over the ground. My best guess is he tried to smash the door with the ashtray and cut himself, but that's just speculation. And my blood ran cold thinking about how clearly aggressive this man was, and we have absolutely no reason to be targeted. We told our neighbors, who were absolutely horrified, and they said they thought they heard something but just assumed it was a drunk. When we mentioned the woman's name, the neighbor said, "Oh God, that's..." and then said her name. She used to live where you do, and Anyone ever recognize my voice? No. You don't get notified about it? Yeah, I don't know if like YouTube does the notifications for streams differently, but I think once you come in and you can like set the notifications on your phone to like all, it should hopefully notify you. I don't know if I like him, but I view him as my safety, and we have a very close relationship, and I would hate that he be taken away from me. Oh, okay, so it's like you don't want to lose a friend. Oh, see, now I kind of understand where you're coming from. It's like whenever, if, you know, you just have a friend, and if they get a girlfriend or a significant other, you might not see them as frequently as before, which makes total sense as well. In which case, it's like, there's really not much then that you can do in those scenarios other than just be mature and try not to like stir up any trouble, because even if the person's like bad for them, you can like let them know. But sometimes there's people, they like, you know, they're like, I would never make a bad choice in dating someone shitty. You know, and then they just get mad at you or whatever for trying to break up what they have. So it's like almost like just worth like doing your own thing somewhere else. Hey Willow, thank you. Do I do YouTube for a living? I do, yeah. It's just a statistics engine. It takes in some text input and does the math on to compute what is statistically likely to make sense to follow the words you put into it. What are you talking about? Naughty, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. When we mention the woman's name, the neighbor says, "Oh God, that's," said her name. "She used to live where you do, a few doors down." She used to be into drugs and had a few shady people around, and the neighbor reckons maybe one of her old drug-using companions was searching for her. And even now, there have been a few incidents at her house where the police have been called, but I'm not sure what for. Now we have a video doorbell and alarms fitted, so at least a button now goes straight to a security system that, if you don't answer, will send the authorities. It didn't end in danger, but it so easily could have, and that's what's scary as hell. So seriously, she doesn't live here, and to the absolutely insane door-knocking guy, please, never come again. I edged you with the 4 videos and was clearly 2. I know, I realized that too late. I think it was from the previous video I had like 4, so I like just mentally clocked it in my head as like, oh yeah, there's 4 stories. But the only bad thing on YouTube is like, if you change your title on a video, I'm fairly certain it like resorts it as far as like sending it out notification wise or something. So I didn't want to like change it to 2 and like essentially slow down its momentum, reaching subscribers and stuff. Your body goes into sleepy mode when you hear me. That's fair. Honestly, that's a good thing. When I go to bed, I watch like, I kind of have a routine where I watch like Hearthstone. People play Hearthstone, and then I then as soon as my like eyes start to like close as I'm watching the videos, I'm like, okay, switch over to like sleepy music and pass out. Tried to warn the next girl about my ex, and after that, she got weird and insecure at me. I had to block her. People got to find out the harsh way. Yeah, it's kind of like the same sort of concept of like trying to interfere in a domestic dispute situation. Like there's a phenomenon where if a guy is like beating up a chick and then you try to intervene, the chick could actually end up hitting you for some weird, strange reason, thinking like perceiving you as a threat to her man, even though the man is literally a threat to her, and it makes no sense. So it's almost like you're better off just like keeping your nose out of, other people's business, which I'm very much a big believer in just in general, is to like, if you see conflict, go the fucking other way. Oh yeah. Let me run this through chat BBC again. I just watched a video of 4 more true scary Appalachian Trail stories and the one about the witch rattlesnake crypt. Yeah, those are good stuff. People really like the Appalachian Trail stories. Sleep podcaster Joel uses sleep music podcast. Yeah. Me reading myself to sleep. If a man beating a woman, I think we're way past just a threat. Well, right. Well, exactly, yeah. It's like that's going to be an ongoing thing forever, but for some reason, sometimes there's a phenomenon where the woman is just like, the battered woman syndrome, where it's like, I still love him. And then if you're trying to defend her in some weird sort of white knight way, she might even just like beat you up or something. So it's like, fuck all that. I don't know. There's a lot of strange things that humans do. We really don't understand ourselves sometimes. This begins when I was 15. I'm 18 now, and just for some background, I work in a 5-star Michelin restaurant as a waitress in a sweet little area. And we usually don't get anyone with bad intentions, usually just snobs. On Easter Sunday of 2022, one of the busiest days of the year, a man who will be known as the Easter Man came looking for a table for one. He was in a three-piece suit, carrying a carton of chicken eggs. He was seated in my section, so I went over to get his drink and food order. And once I got his order, he kept talking, asking about my education, what I was doing in school, and what my plans were for the future, what my hobbies were, my name, etc., etc. It was just a little too much to be polite, but I let it slide. I was busy, tired, and I didn't want any trouble, and eventually he left for the day, and I thought that was that. And oh, was I wrong. For the next couple of months, he would come in 2 to 3 days every week. He got more confident, attempting to flirt with me, ask me to come out with him after work, etc. However, things just got worse during one shift. I was walking him to his table, and he slid his hands down my back and over my butt. I turned around and somehow politely told him not to touch me and not to push my boundaries, as I was only 15, and he knew that. And I didn't serve him that day. Now a week later, he comes in, and I refused to serve him again. My manager took over his table, yet when everybody was on break and I was the only one on the floor, he came inside, and he knew by this point that it was table service only, and he came up behind me, bringing his hands down my arms. I was shaken up, but politely again told him not to touch me. And I didn't hear from him again until next Easter, 2023. Last Easter, things got worse. He showed up again with his usual shenanigans. However, my managers were prepared this year, not allowing me to go near him and keeping me safe, though this was only useful inside of work. I walked through the town center to get to work. It's about a 25-minute walk from the train station. I was... I took my dog for a walk around 11. Oh, hi, Elvis. I feel like you haven't been here in a while. And one of my neighbors was blacked out in the parking lot, just like sleeping on the ground. Eric Wardrip, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Thank you, my friend. I walked through the town center to get to work. It's about a 25-minute walk from the train station. As I was walking to work one day, he saw me from his car and followed me into work, and I immediately told my managers, who again told me to stay away from him. A week later, I was having coffee before work and about a 50-minute walk from my job. What do you know? Guess who sees me and follows me on foot to work? I told my managers again, who kept me away from him again. Yet that day... That sounded weird. I told my managers. Cyberpup, welcome back for 4 months. You now have access to bonus, or still have access to bonus content. Thank you. Are these Reddit stories? They are. Yipper. When I served during COVID, I had people telling me I look like Raiden from Mortal Kombat X, and if not, sure if it was a compliment or not, because he is a boy, and I am a woman trying to look like a woman. Raiden. Wonder why Raiden. Raiden's like, doesn't he wear like blue? Oh no, Raiden has... Raiden. Isn't Raiden like the old thunder god or something like that? Like an ancient god with like white hair and like a white Gandalf outfit? Am I getting that right? The eyes. Oh, did you have like piercing blue eye? Oh, the glowy eyes? Did you have glowy eyes on? Just like lightning coming out of it? Do you think you have a good clothing style? It depends, really, on like what. It just depends on what. Like now that maybe when I was younger and I cared more, but nowadays I guess like fashion is not quite as important. What am I rambling about? Just talking about my terrible fashion sense. Blue denim shorts, yeah. Mullet and pump-up sneaks. It's just, yeah, straight tracksuit. Tobias. Oh yeah, I finished season 3 of Arrested Development. I'd not seen it before, but I've slowly been making my way through it. And I genuinely was so sad when season 3 came to an end because it was such a ridiculous episode, the last episode, that in my mind I was like, this feels like a series finale, like it's all over the place with some like really ridiculous things. And it was like so sad. I was like, this is such a good show, like why did it get canceled? Like, how does this show get canceled? And I don't even know what bullshit we have now. But then I watched like season 4 because they like reconnected after like 10 years. And episode 1, it wasn't terrible, but it was just like kind of boring because like nothing happened, and it was kind of like mainly setting up the story, but it was like not as fast paced, and the characters from before were only like touched upon very briefly. I don't know, it felt like a reunion episode, but just like not, like nobody had time or something. What video will the stories you're recording now be in? It will be on tomorrow's video. Reddit stories. Do you like the Nightmare of Decay, or you know what it is? I've been watching the Puppet Combo made games. It's a VHS style and Fears of Fathom to Sleep. I have not heard of it, no. Puppet Combo. Yeah, I heard that Puppet Combo, isn't that who Corpse Husband made, like did some voiceovers with Puppet Combo or something? I don't remember. I told my managers again, who kept me away from him again. Yet that day was different. He asked my managers for me, saying he knew I was there because he'd seen me. Now last year, 2024, I took a lot of holidays around Easter time and was off for exams, and supposedly he came in a few times asking for me, and didn't come in much when I wasn't there. Supposedly he came in a few times asking for me and didn't come in much when I wasn't anywhere to be seen. It's just truly terrifying that I have a stalker who shows up every Easter. Season 4, you actually have to go to the special features and watch the original presentation, not the stupid consequences cut. Oh, damn. Yeah, I don't know if I will be able to access the special features with, like, because I'm just watching it on, like, streaming. Favorite shoe brand to wear? Oh, I have no idea, dude. I just barefoot all the time. Corpse Husband. Yeah, he's like Corpse. Corpse Husband used to be a narrator, and now his name is Corpse. I just know he's like done a few cameos in some like indie video games and stuff, and I thought I heard that the Puppet Combo was like one of them, like the developer or whatever. I'm barefoot in the kitchen, swollen with child. That's me, 100%. Shit. Okay. Next story. Tyra, welcome to the Buddha Soccer Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Thank you so much. You can't never walk barefoot, even in your own home. Especially in your own home. A floor made of broken glass. It's only on Netflix, so special features are there. Oh, okay, I didn't even know they had that on, like, Netflix stuff. This happened a few years ago, and I never told anyone about it. I don't know why I'm posting it here now, but it's been on my mind again, and I just need to get it out. At the time, I lived pretty far out in the country, just me and my dog, no close neighbors, and it was usually really quiet, and I liked it that way. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night to the motion sensor light going off outside. At first, I thought it was just an animal, maybe a deer or something, but when I looked out the window, I saw a man standing at the end of my driveway. He wasn't moving, just standing there facing my home. I don't know why, but I froze. I just stood there staring at him and he didn't move at all. The lights went off after a while and everything went back to dark and quiet, and I didn't sleep much after that. The next night, it happened again. The light came on and there he was. Same spot, same stillness, just standing there staring at my home. By this point, I was starting to get really freaked out, so I called the sheriff's department, and they sent someone to check it out, but by the time they got there, this guy was already gone. The deputy told me that it was probably just some drunk guy or someone passing through, and that I shouldn't worry unless he started coming closer. But that didn't make me feel any better, but I tried to move on. This went on for about a week. Every night, like clockwork, I'd wake up and see him standing there at the end of the driveway. And it was always the same. He never moved, never said anything, just stood there staring at my house. And it got to the point where I started closing the blinds at night, but I still felt like I could feel him out there. And then, just like that, it stopped. I never saw him again after that week, with no explanation, no reason. It just ended. I've never told anyone about this before. It's probably not that big a deal, but it's something that's obviously stuck with me. I guess I just needed to write it down. What's up, Jimmy? You missed... How many stories we miss? 4 stories. 4 stories and 4 stories ago. One of these lives you should do a past show trivia. I think I'd win. I've listened to every episode on Spotify. I've noticed your YouTube channel has episodes that are on Spotify. Yeah, there's like the stuff that gets on Spotify is probably like close to a year behind. So it's a little bit not up to date. Also, wait, what day is it? I'm fairly, once I switch to like 2 videos a week, I'm pretty sure the Spotify episodes are going to get a little shorter, which, yeah, the newest one you can see is an hour and 43 minutes as opposed to, well, how many views did this get? Huh. As opposed to like, yeah, the 2 hour and 40 minute video to like a week before that. So hopefully that doesn't like turn anybody off. Hopefully they still listen, but the Spotify episodes are definitely going to go down by at least 45 minutes or so. Hopefully that's not a big deal. You know what I noticed on like the iPhone is like whenever you like send a text, if you don't have autocorrect on, it's almost like impossible to type a fucking word without like completely fucking it up. And it's kind of weird to me. Like you almost like need autocorrect on permanently because like trying to type a word and you feel like you have the motions down, right? Like comfortably. But it always just like comes out like a fucking like garbled up piece of shit mess. And I'm just like, what the like how? I don't know. Like I almost like kind of wish there was like tactile keys or something that could come back just so you can like more reliably type, but it's really fucking bad. Sausage fingers, maybe that's it. Rigatoni fingers. Listening on Spotify is a great way to pass the time on an airplane flight. Thank you. I got a flip phone and realized how bad I am at spelling. Yeah. I remember T9 autocorrect back in the day was the shiz. No, T9 wasn't even autocorrect. It was just like to type you had to like hold a button in long enough to become like a letter, or like hit it so many times, but you got used to it. Yeah, but then there's other options. I guess you can like swipe your finger over shit to like spell stuff, and then it just kind of assumes what you're doing, but I don't know, shit's so fucking bad. We're going to do Cherokee Native stories. We had a deer lady, but it's always skinwalkers of the Wendigo. I was thinking about this place here in deep country with an old Cherokee cemetery. That'd be interesting. Are you going to go there? Be careful if you do. Look out for the Feather Hat Man. I've heard of him. This is a completely true story, and it happened just an hour ago, and I wanted to talk about it somewhere. Now, for context, my wife and I were on vacation in Mexico. We're both honestly loving it here, and the situation doesn't change that, but I am reevaluating security. My wife and I went out to dinner and walked back to our hotel. We got inside our room, we're setting things down and all that, and a few minutes go by and there's a knock at the door. A man quietly says something in Spanish, in an inflection that's clearly trying to get our attention. Think room service or something. My wife looks at me, wondering who would be at the door. And at this point, I should clarify that we had the Do Not Disturb tag on the door. A few seconds go by and there's another knock. My wife signals. Swagnals. Sorgnals. I did when we were teens at a test of courage and sit in silence in pitch dark. Oh, God. How'd that work out? You were deemed most braverest. Do I know if I have an RBF? What's an RBF? Really big fanny. A few seconds go by and there's another knock. My wife signals for me to go to the door, so I go over. At this point, a resting bitch face. I've thought about that. I was like, do I have a resting bitch face? I think I just have a face that's constantly just a permanent smile. Everywhere I go around, eyes wide, non-blinking, just smiling at everyone I see. Hello. Can I be of assistance to you on Earth today? Do you need any help wiping? Creepy. I don't know. I feel like maybe I do have a resting bitch face, perhaps, but I don't know. It's hard to tell anymore. I don't even know what fucking social interaction is whenever you're older. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause it's just like none of it fucking matters the same way it used to. And I do miss it. I do miss like pretty consistent social interaction, but now you're just like, you basically just interact with people you know and people that you have to buy things from. And then also people you have to do business with, which is fine. I don't mind those interactions, but it's like very seldom that the business interactions become friendships, you know? Sometimes. Didn't know I was actually funny. I'm pretty much the quass clown here. A few seconds go by and there's a knock. My wife signals for me to go to the door, so I go over. At this point, we've made no sounds for probably a minute before and during the knocks. And just as I reach the door, the key card unlocks it, and it opens. A dirty-looking man is standing there, about 2 feet from my face. I put my hand on the door to prevent it from opening any further, and I think he was as surprised as I was. He starts speaking in Spanish, and I hear the word Wi-Fi somewhere in there, and I say, "No hablo español." In broken English, he tries to ask if the Wi-Fi is down, and my wife says it's not. It's just kind of... Jesus. Is the Wi-Fi down? I'm here to fix it with a machete. You were nominated for Class CO senior year, but I didn't even know people thought I was funny. You had a resting funny face. Just kidding. Te llamo Joel. Hola. I am here to fix the I'm here to fix your face. I have a cute personality you bring out to us, so the voice certainly helps. Thanks, dude. I've been working on my cute personality lately. I've been putting a little makeup on it. Oh, I didn't learn how to roll the R's. Fuck, dude. I can, like, the back of the throat, but like that. You guys say, like, the tongue clicking. Tap dancing tongue. The tap dancing tongue. The banana slug tongue. In broken English, he tries to ask if the Wi-Fi is down. My wife says it's not. I'm just kind of shell-shocked by what just happened, and I keep my hand on the door as he talks and eventually leaves. I shut the door and engage the physical lock this time. I usually do this, but we had just walked in and were setting our stuff down. I talk with my wife as we try to gather our thoughts about what had just happened. Essentially, a man knocked, got no reply, and then let himself in and asked about our Wi-Fi. No, this was a clear burglary attempt. He had a master key card and thought that we weren't home. A minute or two after this went down, once we'd collected ourselves and understood what just occurred, I passed the information to the front desk in case this guy attempts other doors. They seemed to take it pretty seriously, but there were no updates beyond that. The fact that this just happened has my mind kind of blown, and I don't know if I've fully processed it yet. Like, what if we were back 30 minutes later? Probably would have lost some stuff. 5 minutes later, we walk in on a guy in our hotel room. What if we'd gone to bed earlier tonight? We could have been asleep. The AC is loud, and I don't know if it... The AC... Justin Balas with the 5 says, just had a rough half my first day, but I'm recuperated and ready to stream. Let's go. Appreciate you, Joel and gang. So glad to be here. Thank you, Justin. Are you still abroad? Abroad. Ooh. All right. What if we'd gone to bed earlier tonight? We could have been asleep. The AC is loud, and I don't know if I would have heard the knocking through my sleep. If it was going to go down, surely that way it didn't... Wait. If it was going to go down, surely the way it did was optimal, but those ifs are crazy. I'll definitely be storing our valuables in the safe now. Should have done that already, but we just recently got here. Lesson learned, I guess. In the future, stuff is going immediately into the safe and the lock is getting engaged right away. Faux show. My friend went to Mexico one time. You may have heard of the country. But he went snorkeling. And I think I told this story, but he went snorkeling. I don't know if it was like near a cove or a shipwreck or something like that. But the snorkeling, the tour or whatever it was they did, some guy died of a heart attack like right before they got there. And I was just thinking like, holy shit, dude. Someone like just died where they were swimming of like a heart attack and drowned. And then they're just like, all right, get the body out of here. Next. Don't look at him. You're just like a dead body floating right next to you on the tour. And if you look to your right, you'll see Jonathan. Yeah, he's now the in-house shark bait. It's bad for business. Yeah, it's just crazy how quickly they moved on. And also crazy to think you could have like a heart attack and then drown. Jesus Christ. Don't mind him. All right. We're cruising, we're schmoozing. We're kind of cruising a little too fast, I think. I think I had like a 10th story lined up, but I doth not recall where it is because I fucking lost it. There it is. All right. We have unlost the story. Sweet. Have you heard of dry drowning? Oh, is it like congestive heart failure where your fluid builds up in your lungs or something. I know, yeah. What did he see during that scuba trip? Or whatever it's called. Snorkeling. Honestly, though, snorkeling sometimes does kind of feel like you've got, active sleep apnea going on. So who knows? Maybe that caused it. Just, the lack of oxygen, getting into your lungs from, the snorkel getting, clogged up. And then just, one moment like that. Because I do hear people who have, sleep apnea can have those, snore sessions. Where, and then they, don't get enough oxygen and then they just straight up die. He once saw a coworker actively having a heart attack. He was only 33 at the time. Luckily, he survived and changed all of his horrible habits. Holy shit. Yeah, it's scary to think that, honestly. 33 is young. Because I think about that sometimes. I'm like, fuck, dude. Am I just going to explode at some point? What was his horrible habits, though? I'm curious. So I can do those really quick. Thanks, Debbie. That's Dan Blazarian. Did Dan Blazarian have a heart attack at a young age? Well, I guess he was on cocaine probably all the time on those ships. You had a heart attack at 13? What? What happened? I assume it was something you didn't even realize you had since you were born. Probably, right? I'm giving sleep apnea to hubby by pinching his nose to make him stop snoring. He was gasping for air. Yeah, tell him to get one of those, because I sometimes snore. And I have this, it's not always that bad, but sometimes I'll wake up to the snoring and, I have a thing you can put on, it's a head wrap. It's like a Velcro head wrap that keeps your mouth closed so you breathe through your nose. I know it sounds stupid, but once I wore that, I was I didn't ever wake up or bother anybody from snoring again. It sounds bad, but I've just always been a snorer, and a drooling snorer. But I swear to God, I just you. Well, so the mouth tape. Mouth tape doesn't work. First off, it doesn't stay on my facial hair, right? Which is already an issue. And then and then on top of that, the issue that I've come to realize, and I might be completely wrong, but the issue is the fact that your lower jaw goes limp, right, when you're sleeping, and whenever your lower jaw is limp, your tongue obstructs your airway by kind of falling back into your throat, especially if you're laying on your back. So maybe side sleeping would be helpful, but at the same time, if you can, put the Velcro strap on that comfortably fits on your head. It's a little tight, but whatever. It keeps the jaw closed, and then you breathe through your nose. No more tongue going into the back of your throat and causing that. And I get through the nights and I'm fucking fine. And I'm like, holy shit, I've actually found something that genuinely works, and you don't have to get some big, expensive, stupid sleep apnea machine that you have to go get a sleep study for and pay $1,000 or whatever, And even though maybe those are cool too. Maybe we can do a combo of that. Yeah, it's literally only $15. It's just called a snoring head wrap or something like that on Amazon. The only bad thing is that the Velcro starts to get less and less tight, I guess, as time goes on. So you might have to get a new one or figure out how to renew or make the Velcro re-Velcro itself in some way. I actually got used to snore a lot. My tonsils got removed because of it. Oh, was the tonsils causing the issue? That makes kind of sense too, being another obstructive aspect. When you were 5, okay. Deviated septum, so I think that's why I snore. Potentially, yeah. Your cat snores, that's funny. Yeah, sometimes I'll hear pretty... You still snore a bit, okay. I mew when I sleep, yeah. I absolutely mog on the sleep paralysis demon. Okay, so we finished the hotel story. And now we are to this one. There's a micro CPAP that fits in your nose to stop snoring. Interesting. Does it? Is that something you can buy online? Or do you have to get Sleep Study again? My looks maxing too. What's up, Blizz Fizz? It was just past midnight and my wife and I were in bed. She was asleep and I was watching TV trying to fall asleep. All of a sudden I hear a thud at the back door. Our master bedroom is at the front of the house. I hear a lot of bumps all along the walkway on the side of the Okay. All right, you're going in the grammar crusher. Just kidding. But yes, we do have to do that. Also, last night I had heard a big bang upstairs. And I was like, oh my God, somebody's in my fucking house. And then initially I thought maybe it was Pradeep running around upstairs, but I looked down and he's like at my feet and he's looking upstairs and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. So I get my tactical gear and get to work. But as I'm sweeping, as I'm absolutely fucking clearing the house, I see nothing. So I just assume somebody is living in my attic like usual, which would be a great place to live. Probably a little warm this time of year. But then I go to the back porch and I have like a trash can outside because the cat food smells like shit if you leave it inside. So I put it outside and then the entire bin got knocked over. But it wasn't windy. So I have to just assume that there was some sort of stupid fucking animal climbing around in there at night that knocked that shit over and then ran away like a dingus. But it was a little creepy for a second. Do you ever fear someone's frogging in your home? What is frogging? Pulling a frog. They're mogging. I was aiming for Pittsburgh but missed it up in yeah. Slammed into my fucking all of Pradeep's old giblets of food. Oh, people who squat while you're living there. I mean, I don't know how it would necessarily be possible. I have an attic, but it's like really super like cramped and uncomfortable, and like the only way to access it is from inside. So I highly doubt that would occur. But it is always in the back of my mind that someone's just kind of like been up there surviving on fucking zebra cakes or some shit they steal. That would be kind of awesome, honestly. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but it would be kind of hilarious that someone cares about you that much that they would just like crawl through your pipes. Oh, there's a movie about frogging. It's so funny it's called Frogging. How have I not heard that before? Frogging sounds like some sort of weird sexual thing you find on Urban Dictionary or something. Where does my black Jaguar stay? I don't let him sleep with me at night, but he just wanders around the house and does his thing. It is funny, you can see like where he sleeps at though, because it's just like black cat hair completely covering each of his little like spots. Oh, because they hop from house to house like a lily pad. Okay, that's funny. He's frogging. I just assume like, I don't know, I hear frogging and I think Urban Dictionary, I think something with the foreskin. I don't know, maybe somebody could come up with something. I love the new artwork in the introduction. Which strange, obscure horror movies do you recommend? Strange, obscure. I don't know, dude. I just feel like so many horror movies I've seen lately are such poop. Like they're just not good. And I'm honestly not sure anymore like I'm sure people in chat will have some suggestions, but every horror movie I've watched from like lately is just such a disappointment. Can we talk about the political and economic state of the world right now? We could try. Not to sound like a woke asshole or anything, but I just feel like women have it hard. That might be the greatest quote from Logan Paul of all time. How do you feel about the new Final Destination movie? I will probably go see that. That'll be sick. Was there anything? I saw like a new Superman trailer that looked pretty decent. I guess we'll have to see. Yeah, the Jaden Smith thing. Now, I do remember seeing that. It's weird, though, because it seems like Jaden Smith has made a lot of comments about that, but I've never actually seen him discuss the socio-political economic state of the world. So who knows? Maybe he's maybe he's a genius. We have no idea. It looks amazing, don't deny it. It does. It does. It doesn't look... I don't know. Let's think. It looks better than most superhero movies. It looks more epic than most superhero movies. And I think if you're ever going to do a Superman movie, it kind of has to be pretty fucking epic. So me hopes that it's fun. The 4D advertising haven't. Do they actually have like sort of is it like a VR ad? That's kind of sick. Jaden Smith probably doesn't have an actual complete thoughts, just thought thumbnails. Yeah, but that's just like, yeah. I guess that's like every celebrity, isn't it, at this point? It's actually it's so strange. It's such a strange thing to think that like LA might genuinely be filled with the highest concentration of stupid people you have ever come across. Because I mean, I'm not saying like celebrities, especially ones born into wealth, have to have some crazy amount of intelligence, but it's terrifying to see how wildly vapid their perspectives are pretty consistently. And I understand that like there's a lot of groupthink there. There's a need to fit in. So sometimes it's better to just be like everybody else rather than form any sort of independent thought. And it's also sort of a survival mechanism where you just say certain keywords or whatever, and then people will just go, yeah, totally, and then you move on. But it's just, I don't know. I wonder if it's all like that there, like just a absolute state of disconnection. I'm from the Bay Area, and geez, the level of entitlement there is insane. Yeah, I guess I can't super speak on it, but just every time I hear a celebrity talk nowadays, like I never, it's not like I ever used to think that they were I never used to think that they were intelligent in the past, but sometimes when they would say something stupid, it was funny. But now it just feels like it's getting annoying, and it's been annoying for a long time, but it's just like you can't even hope to anticipate for any deviation of thought or input on something. But I guess that, at the end of the day, you realize it's just like a bunch of adult pretenders. Like that's what we are as actors, is like you get paid to pretend to essentially be a child for the rest of your life. You get paid to be a kid who sits and plays pretend with your friends, but you just get really, really, really familiar with the context and the script and the lines, and you just pretend really, really hard. You pretend so hard. Like you honestly can't really anticipate most human beings, if they have to do that all the time, to ever be able to relate to like the common man. And you definitely can't really expect them to have any sort of skill sets outside of that, I suppose, especially if they make any money. End up Daniel Day-Lewising. Yeah, I mean, at least I have respect for Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, he was one of the most talented actors of all time, but he also seemed like a genuinely pretty, I don't know, well-versed individual. And it seemed like he got out at the perfect time, just to enjoy the rest of his life, not go completely insane, and go down as a great. And I feel like if you're going to be an actor, that's the kind of actor you should be. Like, sure, espouse your opinions and your thoughts if you want to, but wouldn't you rather people just know you for your craft and how impressive you are for your art, rather than, I don't know, just saying some garbledy-goop? What did he retire? Yeah, I think Daniel Day-Lewis is long gone. I think he did, I forget which was his last movie, and then he's donezo. was just past midnight and my wife and I were in bed. She was asleep and I was watching TV trying to fall asleep. All of a sudden, I heard a loud thud at the back door. Our master bedroom is at the front of the house. Then I heard a bunch of bumps all along the walkway on the side of the house, and meanwhile, the dog was losing his mind. There was pounding at the front door. I thought it might be the cops or some kind of emergency, so I jumped out of bed and turned to the corner to the front door, only to see a girl, probably in her 20s, very small, yelling, let me in, 4 men in a van, they're hunting me." And I'm just responding, what the F is going on, as she's pounding on the front door. I looked around and didn't see anyone. I told her as much, but then my wife rounded the corner and said to let her in. The girl ran in with no shoes on, wearing muddied pajama pants. I told her to sit down and said that I'd check things out. As I was putting on pants, she starts yelling, "They're right here, 4 men. They want to murder me. There's one aiming at me. They want to kill me." But there was no one. She started running around our house, jumped on our bed and slammed our window shut, and then ran into the guest room, then the bathtub, and then the laundry room. At that point, I was losing my patience, so I told her, "Go to the couch and sit down. There's no one out there. If you live 2 blocks away, I'll drive you." And that was a big mistake. At this point, I realized that she was unhinged and probably experiencing some kind of neurological episode. I just wanted her out of the house. So I got the car while my wife... Joe Honecker, welcome to the Buttersalt Cult. You now have access to bonus content. You are my bronchine, my only bronchine. Yeah, I never seen Last of the Mohicans, but I really should. I should just go back and watch all of the Daniel Day-Lewis movies. That's a hard situation. I don't know if I'd do if someone needed to shelter my house and I couldn't easily tell if they're being honest or not. I would say stick with your gut and not let them in, because that's that. I don't know if they really sell it. Say they're a method actor who's been doing a lot of crack and living in a crack den. Yeah, they could do a really good job and trick you to let them in, and then the boys jump out of the bushes. Have you seen Apocalypto? I have. Yeah, I liked Apocalypto. I know it's not like historically accurate as far as like the timeline or anything goes, but it was still like a fun movie from like beginning to end. It was interesting, and honestly, the fact that it was all just like in another language made it even more sort of immersive, you know. You thought it was a documentary, yeah. Here we are, following along with what has become known as Almost. I thought that was such a great name. Like that's something, because I think it came out when I was in high school, so we would call our buddy on the football team Almost, because it was just like such a stupid, silly nickname, you know. But I think it worked out pretty well. Apocalypto's chase scene is close behind Last of the Mohicans. I guess if you run through the forest, it's a great yeah, those were pretty intense. Chris Brown versus John Lennon. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that the John Lennon domestic abuse and generally just being not a great person, it took a long time for that to really start to spread in like a mimetic form. I've been watching NHL or NBA playoffs. I have, and I was talking to my barber about it, but I don't know. I like to play basketball. I just don't really like to keep up with any of the teams. And I'm kind of thinking like once LeBron's gone, like I feel like is the NBA just going to fall off? Have you tried melatonin? If so, what makes you prefer mag? Well, melatonin's like a hormone that your body produces, right, to like help fall asleep. I forget what's the precursor for melatonin, like helps your body just make it. But the more melatonin you take, like it's kind of like your body starts to like decrease its production, right? So if you're just taking like a supplement like magnesium that helps to kind of like relax your, I think, skeletal muscle or something like that. If that helps, you know, I would just prefer to like maintain my natural production of Doesn't mean it completely shuts down your melatonin. I think it eventually comes back, but I hear that it does. You start to become almost reliant on the melatonin. And I've heard that actually with melatonin, if you take like almost like micro amounts of it, it almost like starts to trigger your body to like naturally produce it. Tryptophan, okay, yeah. Taking melatonin can offset the natural production of melatonin. It's okay to use every once in a while, but yeah. Did I see the Minecraft movie? I did, yeah, it was good. Melatonin gummies. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of gummy stuff. I've heard that gummy stuff is just like not as actively absorbed or bioavailable in your body. It's probably best to like stick with the pill forms. Taking carbs before bed actually helps with sleep because it puts your body in a rest phase. I don't know if I agree with that because you intake carbs and it increases your insulin, and it's like, do you really want your insulin increased? I guess because I guess it's causing you maybe to crash because it's like pulling the insulin is pulling like the glucose out of your sugar or out of your bloodstream really fast. But I also fear that because you're in a rest state, wouldn't you be your body more motivated to like store it as fat or something? Unless it goes right to your muscles. And maybe, yeah, I guess if you're working out a lot and you're going to work out in the morning, your body's going to probably still have it in your stomach. Also, just digesting and stuff before bed, I feel like would interfere. But I guess it could be nice to have those like quick carbs available like prior to working out, like directly in the morning. Do I take the magnesium in pill form? I do, yeah. There's like different versions. I feel like I take like magnesium glycinate or something like that. If you work out, carbs at night do help, but yeah, some carbs, not like 300, yeah. What do you consume before bed, Scotty, as far as carbs? A couple of fig Newtons. I just wanted her out of the house, so I got the car while my wife brought her outside. I checked the mirrors, totally empty streets. The girl started saying that they were crawling on my car, and I assured her that they weren't and asked for her address. 16th Avenue and 15th Street, she said. I told her that didn't exist in this neighborhood, and she screamed and said that they were coming. We hadn't even left yet. Oh, whoops. Oh yeah, did anybody play Doom? Anybody play Doom, the medieval thing? Carlito, thank you. We don't have CVS near here, just Walmart. Yeah, CVS is kind of overrated because it's just like a big convenience store. I guess it is nice. You get a lot of random stuff in there. But yeah, you could probably just find it all at Walmart for cheaper. For my night meal, I usually eat cottage cheese with fruit. I also sometimes will make a protein-rich pasta. I'm telling you, knocks you out like Tyson. But do you stay asleep the whole night, though? Because sometimes I've heard people, like, if they eat food before bed, it's like their body is digesting and you don't quite get as, like, deep of, like, a REM sleep as you possibly could if you were, like, in a somewhat fasted state. Not necessarily completely fasted, but just, like, your stomach not have digestion going on. Found out Rite Aid is going out of business. Damn. Who's going to sell me my irradiated Chinese pharmaceuticals? Who will step up? Played level 1 of the Dark Ages. It was fun but tough. Yeah. Are you going to bed, Ollie? Nighty-night. Yeah, I heard that the Dark Ages was pretty hard. Doom is kind of boring hack and slash, same old. I guess it does have a certain gameplay loop, but I think a lot of people like the gameplay loop because it's just like a fast-paced sort of Twitch shooter, but single player with a lot of like different ways to experiment with how you get the kills. Maybe not completely, but I think this new one looks decent. She screamed and said they were coming. We hadn't even left yet. I told her again no one was out there. I asked her for directions if it was close, and I followed the rough 2 blocks that way she mentioned earlier. She started spitting out wrong addresses, and everywhere she said it should be, it wasn't. And then she covered it up by saying that she was just trying to lose them, crawling around the back seat and checking out the windows. They're chasing us on scooters. I can see the gun, she yelled. And she shouted, go left, right, left. And of course, no one was there. I hit the brakes, and I turned to her and said, "Sit your butt down and put on a seatbelt." And she protested, so I said that I wasn't driving until she did. And then she pointed to a really nice house and said, "That one's mine." And it occurred to me, maybe I was the one in danger. Maybe she was directing me somewhere to get jumped, so I told her, "I'm not driving you anymore. Where do you actually live, and where can I drop you off?" And she said 7-Eleven, so that's where I went. It was just a couple of doors down from my house, and I told her to stay there and called the cops. I ran back home to see if we had any old shoes that she could take, and I assumed that she had taken some kind of weird drug. 5 cop cars ended up combing the neighborhood for a while, and it was obviously her who had made all that ruckus. I hope she got herself figured out, but I left that to the cops. Dude, I feel bad for cops, man. They gotta deal with so much fucking bullshit all the fucking time. Just like every night, it's like you gotta deal with like mental illness, you gotta deal with crazy bullshit. It's like there's just like a new fucking, you gotta deal with medical emergencies. You just have to deal with so much shit all the time. I almost think like maybe cops should go to school for like 4 years. Who cares? I guess it doesn't matter. Give them a weekend course in a gun and they're good to go. But it just, I don't know, it just seems like, yeah, and how do, dude, the cops, if you want to fix, I feel like a large majority of, I'm just saying, I'm talking to my ass right now, but I wish they would fix cops' sleep schedules. I have a friend who's a police officer, and he is like in a position of like, he's like a sergeant, and he still has to do a swing shift, right? So it's like, a couple of weeks they'll do morning shift, then a couple of weeks they'll do second shift, and then a couple of weeks they'll do night shift, and then they just rotate through these terrible, like never consistent sleep schedules, and I'm just like, dude, like no one's ever sleeping ever, so they're literally having to do the most intense potentially job ever, and they have bad sleep. Like that's just such a terrible approach, and it seems like he's a weirdo though. He can change his sleep schedule anytime at will. Yeah, maybe I guess if he does it, he has like a system or something. I wish they would dance for me. Maybe you could, yeah, make a TikTok with a cop. But then he shoots at your feet and says, "Dance, dance." I watched the funniest EW body cam last night. The suspect broke into a bunch of places, including a pet store, let some animals go and put the gerbils in his pants. They confiscated the gerbils. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, at that point, you don't even know what you're dealing with. So you're like, this guy could get violent. This guy could have, like, needles on him that have, like, diseases in it. You could be one of the cops that gets on video that then has to go to court or whatever. It's just, like, so much shit. What about nurses and doctors? No, I totally agree. Nurses and doctors have it bad, too. But it's like the nurses and doctors situation is kind of, like, always focused on medical, right? And then if there's ever, like, some sort of violent person, usually then you call security in or a cop or, something like that. But you're always in the same environment as a nurse, thankfully. Whereas like a cop, it's like you got to drive a fucking fast-ass car. You got to go put your life on the line. And you got to fucking make really hard decisions that could fuck you up for the rest of your life. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. And everybody, there's people that just fucking hate you forever. And you're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing this job for. It just seems miserable. And you choose to do the job for whatever reason. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's decent pay, but and you sometimes, like, if you go to your training for however many months, you're away from your family. Oh, God, yeah. I don't know. Well, that's true, yeah. Nurses and doctors, yeah, barely sleep. I mean, at least some nurses do swing shifts, obviously, but the doctors definitely, those are the weirdest ones. Like, they always seem like they're working like 16 hours a day with no sleep whatsoever. Military, I've seen so much people change from it. Yeah, the military is scary, man. I even just saw like sort of a meme where it was just a basic meme. It's like where he's a superior, and he's like, when one of your privates requests to go on, like, leave on an airplane or something like that on vacation, and so he wants you to move his like request to leave up to superiors, but then you need like the plane ticket and the plane number, but then the private was a has like a private jet for some reason, like with family, or is flying on a private jet, and you're like, when you find out your private has more money than you, and he's like, can I go? And he's like, nope. And he's like, all right, I'll move this up to superiors. But just the language that was used and how like formal and like you got to cross your I's and dot your T's, it just like all of it seemed just like such a fucking pain in the ass, like an environment that I would just like absolutely hate myself if I was like involved in all the time. Would I support mandatory military service like in Korea? No, I think it's good that we have a choice. I mean, it certainly does breed a certain type of person whenever everybody in your, you know, country does have to do some degree of military service, where there's some aspect of like unified perception towards government. But I think that's not really necessary. I mean, the United States, I guess, was built on the fact that it has like its own, just everybody's like part of the militia, essentially, in a weird way. You know, if you're like an able-bodied person. But at the same time, I don't think creating like a innate system that pushes you into that hierarchy from a young age on every person, I don't think that would be that beneficial, to be honest. Maybe it would. Maybe it would unify everyone a little bit more on that domestic level and help everyone get their shit together. But man, that would be crazy. Instead of colleges, oh my god, dude. Interesting, actually. Instead of colleges, everybody has to go to fucking military academy for 2 years or some shit. I don't know. I feel like in that case, based on how much the United States wants to get involved in every fucking military thing ever, you would have a lot of people just like being sent all over the world, coming back fucked up. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not joining a military for a country that doesn't even like half of its people. That's true too. Well, I'm curious if like would that division be as strong if everybody had the similar military experience together? You know what I mean? They do that in South Korea. Yeah, what is the experience though? Has anybody watched like a documentary or read anything about like how does that do anything to the people, everybody having to do the military service? Because I know they have to do that in like Israel and shit. When your brother started on the force, one of the dickhead sergeants was being an asshole to him. So he decided to go find out one particular guy who actually reeks and bring him in. He always had warrants, so he'd stink up the whole building. That's funny. Just because you're military doesn't mean you go to war. I know, but I mean, I'm almost wondering, like, with more available bodies, would that, like, motivate that same sort of military apparatus to, like, just generate more conflict, you know, or something? I don't know, because I'm sure there's certain aspects of that. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud with literally no direction. Off topic, but have you heard Nightmare Notes videos? I don't know why, but you thought your voice when I heard him. Nah, I haven't. I have not. What do they do? PTSD bonding. The reinstatement of the draft would require Americans, women to have a lot more children. Really? Oh, because they would want to, like, have children to get out of it? Or what do you mean? Just popping in to say thanks for all the sleepy time content. You're welcome, Mork. Good to see you. How's it going? In Singapore, it's mandatory service for the time you turn 18 for at least 2 years. Interesting. Alright, sorry, I got sidetracked there. They only get a pass for the usual reasons, or if you're famous. Started with BTS having the tour and they couldn't serve and the government slowed them to tour. Oh yeah. What does that do though? What is, like, I imagine there's a lot of like younger men then after they serve who probably look at BTS as like bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you come out of the military and you see someone like BTS who maybe you don't admire anyways, and then you see that they don't even have to like do military service. You probably like kind of loathe them, I imagine. She screamed and oh wait, we already did that part. Okay, my bad. We don't have people to go to war. That's why we'd need more kids to keep stable population. Wait, what? I don't get it. Wouldn't the populations... Oh, because if we went to war, we would... Okay, get rid... If we had too many wars, we would lose. But okay, yeah, that makes sense. Psychiatrists really have it rough. Do they? That's one I wouldn't really want to be a part of. Like, just handing out the medications to everybody. Do you ever wonder how the universe started? It seems endless. Yeah, for sure. Who flippin' knows, dude? Who flippin' knows? Japan has had that problem for decades. The draft, Joel. What are you talking about again? I know we were talking about like conscripted military service for 2 years, but I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, why does Japan have such low birth rates? People just want to... I think it's because guys have their priorities straight. They know gaming is most important, and they're focusing on that, which I totally understand where they're coming from. Sometimes gaming comes first, you know? Yeah, that's true, yes. More war, less population. True. Especially if everyone's conscripted to go. The psychiatrist is OG. She will tell you to stop whining and get on with it. That's good. That's honestly what most people need to be told in their life. Just like, lock the fuck in. Pay someone to listen, diagnose in a med, now you have a label. Right, yeah, and then you just like fall further and further into that label and more medications and more, you know, and now you're just like a lifetime fucking customer. You weirded out? What are you weirded out about? It's because they kill baby girls in China. I thought they got rid of the one kid policy or whatever. Does that still happen? We're all moving to Japan. Damn, my voice is squeaky. In Japan, they call parasite singles who just stay home, spend money on themselves, don't date or financially contribute, and just work and live off their parents. Yeah. I mean, I guess we kind of have that here too, where we shame people for living with their parents until they're older, but yeah, I guess it's the same thing here. Japan's work ethic is through the roof. No one has kids because they're so busy. Oh, okay. I guess that's the motivation too, yeah. Alright, sorry. We're on the next one here. Do. Japan has such a horrible work-life balance issue, so yeah, I don't know how they're even able to take care of them. Yeah, that is sad about Japan. It seems like such a magical place, but then, you know, post-World War II, I guess you just get all those sort of like Western expectations. But at the same time, it seemed like they were suffering from some sort of spirit, you know, like the spirit of Bushido or whatever, where it was just like warring tribes and great shame for failure and all that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it seems like things didn't get better after Hello Kitty, you know what I mean? There's no incentive to procreate in the UK. What if you're on the dole? Don't you get government assistance the more kids you have if you just don't work? Your psychiatrist is crap. She asked me how my medicine is doing, then asks if I want to increase or decrease, and sends me on my way thinking about getting it. I'll be honest with you, that's what I've heard about all of them. Like they literally just use your brain as like a guinea pig with medication and just like hope for the best. Instead of like being like, hey, have you walked around the forest at all? Have you ever seen how beautiful a tree is and how soft grass feels when you touch it? Have you ever lifted a weight? It's just, or eating a fucking banana. Like, it's just weird that, I don't know, I guess on their end, they're probably just endlessly motivated to push medication. Do you even lift, bro? That's literally what they should just give you a prescription for. You get to the pharmacy and they're like, what is this? And then you open it. So this happened last night. Around 3 a.m., my brother and I were woken up by loud banging and crying at our front door. We live in a rough neighborhood, so naturally my brother grabbed his shotgun, cocked it loudly, and started yelling, "It's 3 a.m., go away," through the door. We were both tired as hell and freaked out. We'd recently had a girl from the neighborhood break into my car, so we assumed it might actually be her. I looked through the front door's window. We've got a one-way film on it, and didn't see anyone else around. I crouched near the door and listened. It sounded like a young kid, completely hysterical, begging us to help her call her mom. I told her I was calling 911 and that help was on the way. My brother, in full adrenaline mode, opened the door, still holding his shotgun, and started yelling at her to calm down. I didn't agree with his approach, but in all fairness, she had woken up about half the block with her screaming while she pressed up against our door. After he opened the door, I got to... Let me go back a little bit. Baby, baby, baby. Finally got diagnosed with bipolar at 29, and they immediately want me to be put on meds and go from 25 milligrams to 200 milligrams in the span of 2 weeks. Absolutely no thank you. I mean, it's just so crazy to me. Like, for years and years and years, I feel like there was like a borderline stigma with criticizing the approach that these psychiatrists do with like experimenting with the human brain, essentially. There's this like, there's been this ongoing sort of like borderline like Reddit narrative that the only way to treat someone's like struggles with mental illness is immediately put them on mind-altering drugs that may or may not have, withdrawal effects if they try to get off of it, or throw them for like incredibly insane loops. And I'm just like fucking sick of it, man. I'm fucking sick of everyone acting like it's a bad thing to say maybe these motherfuckers are wrong about the mind. Maybe they don't fully understand it, and there are other approaches wildly different than like overprescribing medication and shit. And it's just, I don't know, dude. I genuinely think that's like the mental health issue is a problem in the United States, but I think an even bigger one is the overprescription of so many of these medications without fully knowing what may or may not be done to the human's brain. And it's tough because it's like, I mean, right, you become guinea pigs, and it's so fucking stupid because back in the day, like Zoloft, I think in like the 90s, was advertised as like, you wouldn't not give someone insulin if they had diabetes, right? Well, why avoid giving them Zoloft or something? It's like, bro, the ambiguity with the amount of medication you would take as Zoloft on whether or not it's even theoretically possible to like be beneficial is still arguable. Whereas like at least with insulin, there's an exact one-to-one science on like how it will affect your blood sugar. And it's just like, there's no parallel there. There's no parallel in the narrative on how much you should be prescribed on like psych medications versus someone who's struggling with, insulin resistance or diabetes, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking stupid. And it's dangerous. It's genuinely dangerous. But they'll sit there and say that I'm the fucking dangerous one to be wary of it. You know what I mean? It's just like, shut the fuck up, dude. You're hurting people in the long run. Bree, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Need to see the movie Saint Maud. What's that about? Same with the doctor prescribing chemo. You think so? What's the deal with chemo? Is it, I mean, obviously it's like destroying more sometimes destroying cells without actually completely getting rid of all the cancer cells. That's actually that's a curiosity, honestly. It is strange sometimes when it comes to like the treatment of cancer. It's just like chemo, surgery, radiation. But have we had many advancements in that regard? Do I remember my first live stream? I don't know. Do you remember what it was? Some doctors was indicated for prescribing chemo in necessary patients. Interesting. Unfortunately, reality is like SSRIs for depression doesn't work for the same for everyone, so you just have to do a trial in a way. Yeah, I don't know, man. And that's the question too, is that like, is the core issue whenever like most of the diagnoses, when you go into a psychiatrist's office and they're just like, like you're like struggling with like probably fluctuation of borderline bipolar disorder, or I'm thinking like maybe you have like major depressive disorder, and they're just like kind of shooting from the fucking hip with like their thoughts, and it's just like, and like, I'm going to put you on a low dose Zoloft, and you come back and tell me how you feel. And it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't do it. There's no blood test. There's no, it would be difficult to like dig into the mind, right? But there's got to be some sort of like modern direction we can go. I don't know. It's just fucking weird. Web surfer guy with the 2 says the only prescription I want is more cowbell, baby. More skin flute. Thank you for the 2, my friend. And Tanny, thank you for the 10. Says, hey Joel, it's been a long time since I've heard you live and just want to say good night. Long time fan forever. Thank you, Tanny. Appreciate you. It's called DSM. Right, but okay. Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, a reference book used by mental health professionals primarily in the United States to diagnose and classify mental disorders. Right. So, but my question is like, is it not a little odd to use a manual, like a subjective perception of the mind, but then you're giving medication for it, right? You're giving medication which has objective outcomes and a sort of subjective perception of what you perceive the person is struggling with. And I don't believe that there's like a one-to-one fucking translation to your potentially varied perception of a human's mind, that you once again are just shooting from the fucking hip on like whether it's true or not. Like it's not science. Like to me that doesn't seem like science. Like if I got a blood test and someone said like your A1C has been this and your blood sugars right now it's at fucking like 250, and you're like, oh fuck, all I did was eat an apple or something like that earlier before I came in, there would be clear indications on objective statistical data to demonstrate, that you probably have some issues with insulin resistance, might need some dietary changes to fix that, might need insulin in emergency situations or ongoing. And it's like, that makes fucking sense. But this sort of, like they're addressing your emotions, and they're just like, you're a fucking teenage girl going through a rough patch because your parents just got divorced or some shit, and they're just like, here's a pill, here's a pill, here's a pill. We don't know anything objectively, like a brain scan or a measure of your blood, you know what I mean? It's just like a fucking big book. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's strange or abstract to question that approach. Scientifically speaking, I really don't think. I don't know. And I guess my fear is like, some people could use them for a period of time, help them get through an acute issue, right? Potentially suicidal ideation, that sort of thing. But I think it's something you should definitely, as a doctor, immediately consider weaning people off of. Like there's so many other lifestyle changes, both in exercise and socializing and just like finding purpose and goals in life that would help your mental infinitely more than the ongoing and chronic negative side effects of some of these medications. And it's fucking weird. It's just so strange to me that we're still at this point in like our approach to mental health. I was out in antidepressants when I was 16. I talked to the doctor over for 5 minutes before she prescribed them to me. Right, that I've seen like people do like hidden camera things where they go to like 10 different fucking psychiatrists, and this person doesn't even look you in the eye. Doesn't even look you in the eye, just like kind of like mumble, like ask you a few questions, mumble some shit, and they're like, and they all give them like 10 different diagnoses. They give them 10 different fucking random thoughts that popped up into the doctor's head, and then some variations on the medication, and it's just like it's like an indication that there's clearly something systemically wrong with whatever the fuck that science is. Like there's something clearly fucking wrong with their approach, especially when they don't even objectively know what could potentially occur to your mind by taking them over a period of time. You know, it's like you could come out way worse on the other side than approaching it from a more natural standpoint, you know, or therapy or whatever. They gave me antidepressants at 15 and sent me flying mock Jesus into a manic episode. I was getting arrested and sleeping in strangers' truck beds in Seattle. They just said I had ODD. My psychiatrist, when I was 14, just upped my antidepressants till my mom had had enough and I was just diagnosed with autism. Yeah, like what the fuck? I mean, you're 14. Fortnite teen, bro. Like, what do they fucking know? And who knows what's going on at home? Who knows what's going on at the thing? Like, I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. It's fucking strange. Like, and these doctors, they have no remorse for like that process. They have no long-term, I don't know, do they even approach the long-term outcomes and like assess things? It just seems so arbitrary. Boop, welcome back. The VA asks why I don't take the prescribed medications. I tell them 7 buddies unalive themselves with cocktails they dish out. Right, I mean, like you might come out the other end with like a worse, like a complete disassociative state of the mind as well. Like you literally might come out the other end like not feeling anything at all, and maybe those suicidal ideations might get worse. Like it's really fucking hard to tell, and I just don't think science is at the point right now, sadly, that it fully understands the body, or rather the mind, the way that it does, various other hormones. It's just, I don't know. It's just not an exact science. And I mean, to sit there and point it out is not an abstract thing to do. And I think more people should just approach it naturally. But also, like, why would the doctor question what's going on at home when my parents are the ones paying them? Why would they, or why wouldn't they? I have heard some horror stories where sometimes you'll be a teenager, and I don't know if it's in California or fucking Washington, those kind of states, but it's like the doctors will sometimes give you prescriptions or give you the option towards something or treatment without really consulting the parent, even though the parent is like paying their insurance or whatever, but then the parent doesn't have access to the fucking medical records. It's just like such a fucking strange roundabout manner, and I'm just like, dude, if you want to hemorrhage trust between the most important person essentially in a kid's life besides like their parents and their teachers, their like family doctor. That's how you fucking do it, is like basically box out the parent from like being a part of their care. Like, that's fucking strange. If my therapist was like, oh, your mom is the problem and your mom caught wind of that, she'd simply stop taking me. Oh, I guess that makes sense too. Like if she genuinely, which, right, yeah, I mean, in that case, if there was abuse, then it would make sense to address the kid privately, for sure, yeah. But I mean, it's, you know, at the same time, I don't know. I've had to listen to the stories during the day. I have like 2 or 3 sleep paralysis unless I have a couple of beers. Do the stories help with sleep paralysis, or does it make it worse? I didn't agree with his approach, but in all fairness, she had woken up about half the blocks with her screaming while she pressed up against our door. After he opened the door, I got to see her. Honestly, I was kind of hoping it was a homeless person from our area or even someone looking to do some weird stuff to us, but it was a kid. And the look in her eyes while she was kneeling at our doorstep made my heart drop. I was thinking that she was around 14, but she said someone had crashed into her car down the street, and she left her phone in the wreck so she couldn't call her mom. Things weren't really adding up as I asked her a few more questions. She kept begging me to go down the street with her, but I told her no way. We're waiting for the cops. About 10 minutes later, 3 tow trucks drove by heading toward when... Your night terrors have stopped by listening. Interesting. Interesting. I like smoking from the bong while listening to these stories. It helps wind down for the night. Oh, okay. So you smoke the bong and then you eat your snack. So that, I guess that makes some sense in the sense of like deep sleep, REM sleep, because apparently the THC sometimes mitigates like REM sleep. So like people who smoke weed don't get, you know what I mean, they don't get dreams, or they don't have dreams, which would indicate non-REM sleep. So maybe that's why it doesn't feel as interruptive whenever you eat. And then, okay, maybe that's connected there. I don't know. Most of the time I was smoking weed, yeah. It does help with sleep, but can mess up with REM cycle. I think if you smoke a lot, your sleep cycle is off. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, my one buddy, he smokes like 3 dabs. Like, you know, there's like heavy concentrated wax shit 3 times a day. And then like before bed, he's like, I haven't had dreams in years. I'm like, holy fuck. How do you get rid of an accent? Well, you probably just need to like exist near people who, you know, want an accent that you want to get, so that you just kind of eventually emulate their accent or whatever. Or maybe listen to a lot of shit that doesn't have your accent, so you just like start to pick up with that. About 10 minutes later, 3 tow trucks drove by heading toward where we told 911 the crash happened, so I felt safe enough to walk with her down the street. On the way, she kept asking to hold my hand, and I'm just thinking, you look like a teenager, you're barely dressed, and I'm a grown man walking through a neighborhood you just woke up. Not a good look. And I awkwardly asked how old she was. She said 18 and grabbed my hand anyway. I felt very uncomfortable, but her emotions were definitely outweighing mine at that time. And halfway there, the cops showed up. I flagged them down and explained the situation. Meanwhile, she kept telling the officers over and over that I have really bad ADHD and anxiety, while handing me her eyelashes. A full set of false eyelashes. I really didn't want to touch them, but I took them just as... What the fuck's going on? Actually... 6 hours of sleep now has the effect of 9 hours on Whedon's sleep would have. Oh, okay, yeah. Actually dreaming a little bit. That's why I do the magnesium. I feel like I get a very deep sleep with the magnesium. And then also not snoring really fucking helps me stay asleep. What are these stories about? This is just like random Reddit bullshit. It can be anything, but it seems like a lot of them are like people knocking on the door tonight and fucking trying to like lure people. Hey, Roki the Fur, thank you for the 10 gifters. To Out of This World, Lady O, Brandon Bunderson, Double Agent X1, L. Dolan, The Black Parade, Oops, My Umbrella, Jim Kramer, Ian Kramer, 2 Kramers, Godzilla's Nuts. Welcome, friends. You now have access to bonus content thanks to Roki the Fur. Be sure to thank them. Thank you, dude. The thoughts of people being worn up by their own snores like they were farts is so funny. Worn up. Oh, worn out, yeah. Well, it's just, yeah, I mean, the sleep apnea concept is basically just a mitigation of oxygen getting into your system. So, like, if you're, normally your, like, oxygen level needs to be at, like, 99%, or higher, 100%. You know, sometimes people who have sleep apnea could be at a dangerous level of like high 70s, low 80s, and it's pretty not so good. Oh, woken up by their snores. Yeah, I mean it's scary. It's like you're like, what the fuck? You know, you can't breathe. Make some music. Yeah, I beatbox when I snore. Mischievous dog. A full set of lashes. Oh. A full set of false lashes. I really didn't want to touch them, but I took them just to help her feel a little safer or whatever. And one of the cops pulled her aside and the others started casually asking me a few questions. He told me they got another call about 30 minutes earlier that a teenager had been running across someone's lawn barefoot, which, when I looked over, realized that she had been barefoot the whole time. And then I saw them cuff her, and I think they suspected that she was on something, which I was 50%. Yeah. Then I saw them cuff her, and I think they suspected that she was on something, which I was 50-50 thinking myself. I don't know why I can't read it, which I was 50-50 thinking myself. Oh. I have an oxygen tank on almost 24/7 for a few months now. It sucks going to school with a bunch of other immature 14-year-olds. Oh, really? So you said you had a heart attack when you were younger. Did you say what the cause of that was? Was that just like something you were born with, and then now you have to have oxygen all the time? Damn, what the hell happened? Sorry, not to dig into your life or anything. It's just crazy. Then I saw them cuff her. I think they suspected that she was on something, which I was 50-50%. I can't read this for some reason. Which I was 50-50 thinking myself. Okay. I don't know why the phrase just sounds really weird. What's my favorite season? I like spring and summer. I just like when it's warm and I can just do stuff all the time. Like fall's pretty, but it just, to me, it always indicates that it's going to be winter soon, and winter can be pretty, but it's also fucking pain in the ass, and you can die if you stay outside too long not wearing anything. Wait, really? You had a heart attack from secondhand smoke inhalation from cigarettes? That's crazy. Like it was just like a hyper responder to something like that? And then now you need oxygen because of secondhand smoke inhalation? I don't understand. Like they're just like blowing it in your face? Because it seems like there would, like if you were maybe in like a fire or something. I don't know. It just seems like a lot. I am. Welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Hey, Lauren, what's up? Okay, I'm gonna try this again. Then I saw them cuff her. I think they suspected she was on something, which I myself thought as well. As we were wrapping up, the officer saw me still holding the eyelashes and goes, "What are you gonna do with those, bro?" And I just told him I'll sleep on it. I just want to go back to bed. I headed home and started talking to one of the neighbors about it, and he assumed it was her parents' house or something, so he didn't want to get involved in domestic drama. Makes sense, and I just assumed that's why no one else got involved. I couldn't really go back to sleep because I was shaken up and pretty annoyed about her, and I imagined it was a traumatic experience for her. I don't know if this was a justified reaction for her situation, or if she really was on drugs or mentally ill, but I would definitely be praying for her and her family. Wait, so did she actually crash her car? How am I doing tonight? Doing good. Doing hood. Wait, where were we, kid? Oh, yeah. It is kind of crazy. All the stories tonight do have like a very similar thing. Well, there's been quite a few of someone just banging on their door, and then like I've kind of like mixed them up in my head. The story was about Charlie XCX. I know Charlie XCX just because I've like loosely heard about her on social media, but it's so funny to think like the fact that I just didn't really use TikTok at all during its entire existence. I've essentially missed like 10 years of celebrities, and I can't tell if that's a good thing or not. But I feel like every stream somebody mentions some celebrity that I have like no fucking clue who they are. Joe, why do you know how much it sucks being naked in the snow? Is this from personal? It's not from personal experience, but it's like, well, maybe it is a little bit. But just, there's always been the thought in my head whenever it's winter, I'm like, this fucking sucks. If I were to be naked throughout all of this, I'd be dead. Whereas the summer, you could go around at nighttime completely naked, looking in people's windows, and you wouldn't, if you get home safely, you wouldn't be any worse for the wear. Do I consider myself a celebrity? No. No, I'm just a stupid fucking idiot on the internet, like every other stupid fucking idiot on the internet. Which I guess celebrities are just stupid fucking idiots, but they're not only on the internet, sometimes on the radio. Okay. Self-deprecation. Yeah, I guess self-deprecation is just fun, though, you know what I mean? And that's how I've always been, self-deprecative. But at the same time, the self-deprecation is kind of a realist perspective if you think about it. Like, I know that I have more value than I give myself credit for sure, but at the same time, I also understand the absurdity of all of this. Like, what the fuck are we even doing? Do you want to join the nudist colony? Let's do it. Let's get involved. The winter Sasquatch. The winter hairless Sasquatch. Heard about Albert Camus? I have not, no. Self-defecation. Oh, yeah, it reminds me. There's this show on Netflix that I clicked on called Bad Thoughts with Tom Segura. And normally, like, I don't dislike Tom Segura, but, like, his podcast isn't always that funny to me. And then some of his stand-up, I wasn't, like, a huge fan of. But the show called Bad Thoughts is all, like, skit comedy. And it's fucking funny as shit, dude. It's funny as shit. It's, like, really high-quality, movie-level production quality, like, but just, like, comedy skits. And they kick ass. They're like it feels like you're watching a show from the past. What do you think Stephen Hawking was doing on Epstein's Island? I guess he was like playing basketball with like midgets or something. I forget what it was, but he kind of found it funny that they couldn't dunk or something like that. and then he would just like watch them try to like dunk, and then he would just like be straight jorking it. He's getting freaky with the computer. Oh, that's the stuff. Yes, yes. Right there. Shoot the three-pointer. You missed. What are your thoughts on true crime podcasters that use humor? I love LPOTL, but I've had a few people tell me it's too much. I guess it just depends on the context. Like, I guess I don't really throw humor into my my content per se, as I'm not really sure where it would necessarily fit in. But I guess my normal personality itself has a pretty dark sense of humor in general. So like covering some darker topics, it would almost be like hard for me to not make a joke, you know what I mean? Even whenever it's kind of inappropriate, it's kind of just like part of my personality. So I can't really... If I say that I have ADHD, would that make you feel... Would that let me say whatever I want to say all the time forever? What was I doing at the Diddy party? For me, I was just the janitor. I was blindfolded and I just had to clean up everything. Honestly, all I could hear was just like ASMR squishy sounds going on, and I just had a mop bucket and I was just slish-sloshing away on the poop deck. Fucking like slipping and falling, like using the using the mop to try to stay up, like whoa, 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 whoa. Dude, that would be so fucking funny. Imagine an episode of Mr. Magoo, or even better, or maybe, well, actually not even better, but equally as funny, Mr. Bean. Imagine if like Mr. Bean wandered into a Diddy party, maybe even Borat or Bruno, just like one of those characters, like, ooh, what's going on in here? Diddy? Diddy, where are you, Diddy? What the hell is going on in this room? Just like, or Mr. Magoo would actually be really good, because he'd be like, Snagglepuss is in. Oh my fucking god! Can you imagine like all of those like classic cartoons are at the Diddy party? Dude, that Meat Canyon. If any of you guys are friends with Meat Canyon, please tell him to make a Diddy party, but with all of those like old school cartoons. That would be so fucking funny. Snagglepuss. Oh. Hello, Ellen. What are you doing here? You ready for some pizza? So I guess the wildest thing I've ever experienced happened last year, and I still don't know how to explain it without sounding like I'm making it up. You see, it started with these little things going missing. I live alone in a pretty quiet neighborhood, so I figured that I was just being forgetful. A protein bar here, a sock there, whatever. And then my TV would be on a different input than I left it. Nothing huge, just enough to make me second-guess myself. The weirdest part, I'd hear these faint bumps in the ceiling sometimes, and I'd chalk it up to raccoons or something. My house is old, stuff creaks, but then one night, I came home late from work and I swear that I saw a shadow move past the vent opening in the... Mr. Magoo. Patrick Warburton ended up at the Diddy party, subsequently being appalled at everything going. Yeah, I don't know if I can stick around. Things are getting a bit slippy. Code switches. Code switching between creepy narrator and talking voice. Who's Mr. Magoo? It's just funny. It's like, you should, I don't know. Mr. Magoo is a classic cartoon. It's from so fucking long ago. But honestly, nowadays, I'm coming to find like cartoons kind of peaked with those ones back in the day, you know, fucking Looney Tunes, all of the, what is it, Hanna-Barbera or whatever it is type cartoons. There was just something about them, like, they're not the funniest, but there's something almost like post-ironically silly about just all their physical humor. Unoriginal Chinwag with the 5. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Animaniacs. Oh, damn. Oh, that was... Oh, man, I feel like I didn't... Animaniacs was one of those shows that I remember watching a lot of, but simultaneously feeling like I missed every episode as a kid. Family Guy's the best. Yeah, Family Guy was honestly one of the greatest. I've had friends, like, I don't know why they get so snobby about Family Guy. Like, they pretend like Family Guy's not funny. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's fucking hilarious. Like, South Park's good, but I don't understand how South Park gets, like, so much circle jerk all the time, but Family Guy is considered somehow not the best. John Milner, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. But then one night, I came home late from work and I could swear that I saw a shadow move past the vent opening in the hallway ceiling. I told myself I was tired, imagination, but I couldn't shake that feeling. So I set up one of those cheap motion sensor cameras that I bought off Amazon, pointed it straight at the attic access panel in the hallway. 2 nights later, I get a notification at 2:17 a.m. Motion detected. I opened the clip, and my stomach dropped. There was a person climbing down from the attic, like full-on, quietly stepping down the ladder, looking around, and heading into my kitchen. I froze. I was in the house at the time that clip was taken. I called the cops immediately, locked myself in my room with a bat, freaking out while they did a full sweep. They found no one at first, but when they checked the attic, there was a little setup up there. A sleeping bag, some snacks, a small camping stove, empty water bottles. Someone had clearly been living up there. A person was in my neighbor's... Oh, the person was... It was Snagglepuss. It was Diddy hiding out in the attic. I feel like there's a point that Seth MacFarlane had a bunch of yes men around him. I guess that's true too. That does kind of happen on shows once in a while, especially whenever... But it's so strange because I remember I was like a big critic of like American Dad too. I thought like, oh, this is like not his greatest work. And then I thought Cleveland Show was not his greatest work either. But then I just realized all you have to do is smoke a bunch of fentanyl and everything's really funny. Fraggle Rock was good. Classic cartoon. Yeah, that would be good as the outro, remind me. Just curious, when you're reading these, this is the first time you're seeing them? Yeah, this is I just kind of dry read. Which, thankfully, I kind of have the same voice, you know what I mean, for all of the stories, so I don't really have to have much inflection or the change in tone. So I don't have to worry about too much. Also, Jeremy, how you doing, dude? What's happening? What is the good news? The person was my neighbor's grown son, who apparently had some drug issues and got kicked out a while back. He broke in when I was on vacation a few months earlier and just never left. He'd sneak down at night to grab some food or watch TV. He got arrested, and I moved out 3 weeks later. I still have trouble sleeping in total silence because now every creak makes me think someone's crawling around above me. Did I just see the never-ending story? Where'd you see it? Oh, Dark Crystal or Never-Ending Story. I don't think I've finished either, but I do really enjoy like animatronic, like puppetry and that kind of shit. I feel like you just don't really get that. You just don't get that anymore. Read any more Skinwalker stories? I hope so. I hope more people see the Skinwalker and send me in stories. There was also just like a certain sense of peace, you know what I mean? Watching those kind of like Jim Henson puppet style movies. I don't know, like the worlds just felt immersive and real, but also like non-threatening and welcoming at the same time. Most impressive Skywalker. Glad to be here. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Jeremy, since I got you here, I was thinking about you at the beginning of the stream, curious if you would come in. And I'm sorry to bug you, but just out of curiosity, would you have any suggestions as far as someone who might want to pursue, a direction in voice acting, or maybe, some sort of voice production of sorts? Would you say that, what do you think would be the most efficient path in which to connect with an agent that would be able to kind of find those professional avenues for you? Because it seems like you don't really get jobs until you get an agent, and I'm just not sure if I should be how you would especially at starting from ground zero, not necessarily ground zero, but in a professional ground zero, to connect with a casting call type thing. Because I did the backstage thing for a while. It was not super successful. Okay. Do you think the Limitless movie drug is possible? I think so. I took it earlier. I feel pretty good. It comes in a little white powder. JK. In other words, Joel needs to get discovered. I know, it's more just wanting to participate in that environment. You know what I mean? To be in a studio, to get direction. I feel like I feel like I'm pretty responsive to direction. When people tell me, change this, I'm pretty, I can get there. I can become a piece of art, as weird as that sounds. I can become the thing you want me to become. So I just think that would be such a cool thing to be a part of, and then come back to the streams and be guys, guess what? I'm going to be in Fraggle Rock 2. I'm the voice of Squibbly. What's up, guys? Fucking Squibbly, baby. Let's all get fucking naked. Yeah. Squibbly has been removed from the final cut, unfortunately, which sucks. He was also accused of something pretty heinous on sets. It wasn't me, it was the puppet who did it. So I'm not to be held culpable. Okay, sweet. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate you. That'd be amazing. Okay, next story. Something my neighbor said still haunts me. He was the voice actor for Squibbly. Fix this. Don't change the story. Yeah, I put a lot of money into, well, not a lot of money, but I don't know. I think it's kind of unfortunate because I've worked with a lot of random voice actors to kind of through different websites. You pay them for their time, but it's so strange. It always seems like it leads to them being all right, you're gonna be taking. We need. He's the one guy was I got news for you, Joel. Guess what? And I'm what? And he's you're going back to school. And then he sets you up with some fucking 12-week program where there's 50 other people in the class and they just don't give a shit, And then someone else tries to sell you on a book, and then someone else, I don't know, it's everybody's always trying to sell some secondary grind. Ever hear the William Shatner recording session when a producer gives him a note? Hilarious. No, I haven't. I'll have to check that out. All the behind the scenes recording voice stuff is always hilarious. The Dragon Ball Z people, in their there's I forget what it was called, but some of the shit they would say is hilarious. Now coaching Pee Wee hockey team as my puppet character. Even though this happened almost 10 years ago, I've never been able to get it out of my head, so I thought I'd post here. I was about 11 or 12 years old living in an apartment with my mom. Right across from my apartment was a very creepy neighbor. I could write a whole book about all the creepy, wild, and downright insane things he said and did during the 2 years he was our neighbor, but this is the one thing that stuck with me more than anything else. My mom and this neighbor were having a casual conversation. Her goal was to try to find some common ground with him and clear up any misunderstandings or miscommunications that may have led to him disliking us so much. He had a pretty blatant feeling of disdain towards us, I guess. But evidently, something went wrong during the conversation because my mom suddenly came stomping into our apartment, loudly shutting the door and locking it. She was visibly upset and shaken, so I asked her what was wrong. Her voice was trembling, and she said the neighbor had said this, completely unprompted. "You know, if I were you, I'd keep your daughter away from guys like me." Now, while I'll never know exactly what he meant by that, my mind definitely had plenty of ideas as to what that meant. At the very least, it felt like a thinly veiled threat. And the worst part was that I was often home alone, since I did online school when my mom was at work. And from that point on, I never felt safe being home alone. My imagination ran wild thinking about what he might end up doing to me while I was home alone. Now, I never thought that I'd say something like this, and I feel a little guilty about it, but thankfully, he ended up dying before he ever followed through on his creepy comment. Now also, before anyone asked, my mom only told me what he said because she wanted to warn me to stay away from him and to never, ever leave the door unlocked. Boom. One go. Jeremy, yeah, that's perfect. Sorry, didn't see in the chat, but yeah, daylight is perfecto. Thank you so much. Dude, getting through a story without him making a mistake is like completing a level of Mario in one go. Holy shit, this story is long as fuck, though. Absolute freaking W, dude. Have you ever checked out the dubbed version of Ghost Stories? It's hilarious. I did, dude. I actually own it on DVD. Did you guys ever hear of DVDs before? And it's so funny. It's so funny. I'm like, dude, they need to do that more often. They need to just like find an anime that's kind of just like throwaway. It's crazy how many of those they produce, and just try to like replicate that same process. I don't know if like there will be limitations on what they can produce nowadays, but dude, Ghost Stories. I was like in the same way that I was sad when I finished Arrested Development season 3 recently. I was very, very sad when I finished Ghost Stories. So I'm like, fuck, dude. I need more. DVDs. It's a DVD is a digital ventriloquist doll. You basically put the disc in, and then there's like a ventriloquist doll that tells you things you should do. Fix this grammar, but don't change the story. Okay. Digital visual disc. Oh, okay, never mind. Would you read humorous stories on a live? I would, but I guess when it comes to humor, it's all about like your delivery. And like I can say some stupid shit off the cuff and it's funny. But if I'm reading, like it might sound actually funny if I read it like monotone, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, this monotone voice is saying something cray-cray, so it's funny. But I remember like when I was briefly did a little bit of stand-up comedy on campus where I was at in school, I remember I wrote all my jokes, right? I wrote all these funny jokes down. Incredibly hilarious. You would have shit your pants. But I realized to be a good stand-up comedy guy, you gotta be a good actor. And to be a good actor, you need to read your fucking lines like 900 times. Not that many times, but you need to read it a lot and practice a lot. So it becomes an extension of yourself, you know? And I just didn't have a lot of time to like really put into like memorizing the jokey jokes. So it's just like sometimes you get up there and you deliver it, and your delivery, I don't know, it just feels really, really off when it doesn't feel natural, and it's just not funny. Because most of the time, people, stage fright definitely exists, but at the same time, it's like, most of the time, people don't even listen to what you say. Like, they don't listen to, they might listen to what you say, like, it might register the words you're saying, but a lot of the times, most people's brains are, like, kind of conditioned to how you say things, and that, in and of itself, is, like, funny. Because I'm sure you have, like, a friend who's made you laugh 10 trillion fucking times, and then just, like, him walking up to you to say something, just their body language is like already tickling you on the inside. I think it's his body language. It might be something else, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's like your brain. It's almost like a psychological trick to pull on people, where your presence and is already like, their presence is priming you for go to Giggle Town. You remember when channel went off air with Star Spangled Banner, then went to test patterns, then snow until 6 a.m.? What was that about? It's cadence or something. It's definitely cadence, but it's just like, it's weird because you just don't, like, obviously the content, like when I listen to like Louis C.K., right? Like the content of what he's saying, he does come up with some pretty wild ideas and concepts, right? But it's just the way that he says it, and the fact that you're already primed that he's sort of like this, the middle-aged fat dad, because sometimes you need your stand-up comedy person to be less attractive than yourself, right? Because if there's like, that's why I kind of feel like Matt Rife. I think a lot of people just might not be huge fans of Matt Rife. I mean, I'm not saying his content and what he like jokes about is necessarily the funniest shit ever, because he's most of the time he's just like accepting Build-A-Bears from his audience or whatever. But it's like when a stand-up comedian is like funny, it's almost like there's so many other like ruminating thoughts that are going through the audience's mind subconsciously that occur. Like, I guess for the women it's like, oh, he's very sexy, which might actually enhance his jokes and make them want to like laugh a lot. Whereas like with a guy who is probably one of the larger audiences you want to capture as like a male comedian, I think some people may perceive him a little bit as like a threat, you know what I mean? Not necessarily a threat, but just sort of like, it's Mr. Steal Yo Girl kind of thing, And I think that doesn't really benefit him in the long run. So long story short, I think Matt Rife needs to get fat. I think he needs to get fat, and I think he needs to go through chemo. Who are my top 3 comedians? I don't know, that's a tough question, honestly. That is a tough E. I would definitely say Louis C.K. is definitely up there for sure. I mean, George Carlin is for sure up there as well, but like his presentation was so fascinating to me because he was literally just like spitting facts about stuff, you know what I mean? He was like just saying shit. But it was just the way he said it, and the strange, weird way that he would present it. It's like, zip, and then I did this, and then I would do. It was like, his was a definitive performance, It was like he might have gone off the cuff a little bit, but it was clear that like everything he said was almost like he was reading a fucking poem up there, you know what I mean? And it was clear that he probably practiced, and maybe he was just naturally good at it too, and just like taking you from one point all the way to the next, and it almost felt like you were like on a ride of like a musical or something like that. They're here. Yeah, and man, he was impressive, man. I really did enjoy. I enjoyed his messages, and there was really few stand-up comedians nowadays that could like present a message and not annoy you. You know what I mean? Like Dane Cook. Dane Cook was good back in the day. It kind of sucks that he like basically got ostracized from, because everyone, it was almost like he was like suffered from too much success. Spike Lee, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle. Yeah, that's right, Dave Chappelle. I like Dave Chappelle, but he's one of those ones where it's like sometimes he gets up there and he's got to like tell you the message. He's got to tell you the message that he's got to send to everyone out there. And to me, it's just like, I miss old Dave. Like, there used to be a Dave Chappelle who just got up and was just goofy as shit and took you on some like random adventure of some type of made up story, you know what I mean? Like a baby in the middle of the hood selling crack. Like, that's fucking funny as shit. And he's like, he's got to make money to feed his kids. And he's a baby. I'm a motherfucking baby. You know, like, that's hilarious. But now, like, older Dave is back and he's got this, like, he's got the wisdom and he's smoking a cigarette now, so his voice is deeper, and it's fine. You know what I mean? It's definitely good. It makes me laugh, but I just don't resonate so much with teach you a lesson comedy as much as I used to. I just want to giggle. I just want ridiculous shit to be said in a ridiculous way. The Chappelle Show was great. Yeah, the Chappelle Show was amazing. And I think sometimes like comedians are just kind of geared more towards success within the controlled confines of like the editing room, you know what I mean? Because it's like, sadly, the Chappelle Show only went for like, what, 2 or 3 seasons. But then you get to like Key and Peele, which was essentially the same show, and there's like hundreds of skits with like really, really high quality production value, and they're all so fucking funny. Like, whenever, you know, he comes, Keegan comes back, Michael Keegan Peele comes back as the brother who's getting married, and then I'm getting them mixed up. Jordan is like the, incel son who's like 40 something going bald with like combed over hair. He's like, bravo, and like everyone's eating like a nice pasta meal and he's having fucking pizza. Like, that shit, like, it's just the emotions that they can like take you through on that is just so fucking funny. But yeah, that, like I was saying earlier, the guy from Two Bears, One Cave, like his new show called Bad Thoughts on Netflix is really, really funny. Elon Musk is your favorite stand-up comedian. He's so funny. I am become meme. The Machine. I didn't see The Machine thing. I'm not like a huge Bert Kreischer fan. I mean, not to put him down or anything like that, but I'm glad he's off the alcohol and whatnot. Jordan Jensen, Morgan Jay, they do different style, not necessarily scripted. There's a guy who started a comedy show where the audience tells you what to make jokes about and fly. That's impressive, honestly. People's ability to like improv, even like the more family-friendly aspect of like whose line it is it anyways. I feel like those guys were like unsung heroes in my book. It's like I would watch them. What's the guy's name? Like Ryan something, and like his tall counterpart. And then who was the guy that actually ended up on the Chappelle Show, but he was on Whose Line Is It Anyways for years. So fucking funny. Tom Segura just had Mr. Ballin on Two Bears. Okay, that's amazing, yeah. I'll have to check that out. If you work in a physically demanding job, do you think going to the gym is still worth it to gain muscle mass, for instance? I would say so, because it's basically the type of stimulus, you know what I mean? You, like, obviously you're going to be burning calories at your physically demanding job, and there's certain stimulus on particular muscle groups based on the, repetitious action that you're doing at your job. But if you have a goal in mind, right, of building a chest or biceps or, all that kind of shit, you're probably still going to need the stimulus to build that muscle. And so therefore you'll need to go to the gym and do those actions and then be in a calorie surplus with the protein necessary to, 1, overcome the amount of calories you probably burned in addition to work, and then 2, but the tough part is like you would pretty much, most of your life I imagine would revolve around like work, gym, sleep, but that's, a lot of people do that. Wayne Brady, yeah. Wayne Brady was so funny, and I remember as like a kid I had watched him on Whose Line Is It Anyways all the time, and I just thought he was corny. And then you get Wayne Brady in that episode of like Chappelle's Show, and it was like he just like became a god to me. It was just so fucking funny. You should read or listen to Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. I think you appreciate his... Yeah, Steve Martin going back, man, with his banjo. I don't know. He was from a generation I feel like I completely missed in like a lot of comedy, and I regret that, actually. There was so much good shit back then, but I have to check that out. Yeah, and Bob Saget. Bob Saget was funny. It's actually amazing, like, these guys can go through, like, just as performers, they can seem like the most family-friendly, happy person, but then have some of the darkest sense of humor you've ever come across, and I love that. He narrates out, but he talks about completely rebuilding his act. I missed his era too, but the book is great. Oh, okay, nice. That's awesome. Also, Jeremy, I've been listening to a lot of Stephen King, like, interviews and stuff, and he talks about, like, his writing process as sort of just being like setting up a campfire, or like maybe various like campsites that in a dark expanse, and then you're just basically, I could be completely off base on what he said here, but it's like lighting other campfires in the distance and then finding ways in which to connect them to like create a larger, overlapping, grander world. And I was just kind of curious if you had any sort of, I guess it would be a lot to type out, but maybe in like short, what your writing process, if you look at Stephen King as inspiration for that kind of thing. I love you, Mr. Reed. Every time I play The Sims, I put your vids on. Thank you, Taylor. The Sims freaking rocks. It was mid-March. My friends and I were in our early 20s and really into backpacking, hiking, camping, etc. Living in the Pacific Northwest, we were definitely in the right area to satiate our cravings for the outdoors. We wanted to go on a weekend camping trip, so earlier in the week, we went out scouting for an area to camp. After we drove a ways out of town, we found a rural road that looked pretty promising. A few miles down the road, we came to an intersection. We could continue straight where the paved road turned to gravel, turn left to be near a creek about 20 feet from the road, or turn right onto what looked like a little used, mostly grass-covered road. We decided to turn right and see what the area held. The grassy road followed a gentle left curve for about 100 yards and then opened up to a small roundabout with a flat, campground-looking area to the right of it. The site looked like it had been used plenty of times, but there was a lot of untouched grass on the road and a flat area, so we assumed no one had been there in a while. We liked the spot, but it was a little close to the road for us, so we decided to get out and have a look around. Shortly into our inspection, we found a trail that went deeper into the woods. We hiked up it. That's what he said. He also talks about writing as time travel. I love Stephen King. That said, the short answer is there are many approaches to writing as there are authors. Yeah, that makes sense. Because, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's just like I imagine, just the one's most efficient way to interpret and generate a reality. Because if someone were to ask you, I guess, like, hey, tell me about what happened that night, at the apartment, and it was like some type of crime or something, each person is in and of themselves maybe going to give a completely different story, but also present the story in like all sorts of different ways as well, because of the I guess unreliable narrator within our own mind. But I guess that kind of translates in the same way to like writing a story, where you're basically trying to piece together something that occurred, but that thing that occurred just exists within the mind. Why does a writer write? Is it because he has a big pencil? We hiked up it for a quarter mile or so and really liked the way it looked. It was rural enough that we could really feel like we were in the outdoors, and there was no pesky cell reception to distract us from Mother Nature. After deciding this would be our spot for the upcoming weekend, we packed up and headed home. Once we got back to cell service, one of us used Google Maps to make sure our prospective camp wasn't on anyone's property. I think I said perspective. Prospective. Why does that sound like a made-up word, prospective? Let me get a perspective, sweetheart. Shane Carver, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to boner content. There are literally forms of drama that explore that very concept. Books, movies, it's all perception and perspective. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun to like... Because you know how like in the Bible, it's like Jesus, like the 4 Gospels of the Bible, it's like all from like different perspectives of someone like recollecting like basically a magic, a big historical figure. I was thinking that'd be kind of a fun, interesting way to write a story from like multiple perspectives, but from the perspective of like a really wild and insane figure that they all came across or something like that. Maybe something, and then maybe those tomes of sorts are found like years later, gone through multiple translations and taken on different forms. I don't know. 2 creation stories, the Gospels, Moses' speech, and Deuteronomy. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I guess because, what's the 4th one? Was it John? Yeah, it begins like, in the beginning the Word was with, so that's like a creation story in there, yeah. Especially the Ace Ventura series, yeah. They should have 4 different perspectives of people coming across Ace Ventura, but it told like it's from the Gospels. That'd be funny. Adding new perspective, super interesting. Yeah, that'd be cool. Especially if it's like the differences in people's like supernatural experiences with the person or whoever it was. Or even if it's like maybe even something crazier, like a Cthulhu beast of sorts or something. Ever seen Johnny Dangerously, the game of telephone in the prison? No, I haven't. That sounds interesting though. Once we got back to cell service, one of us used Google Maps to make sure our prospective campsite wasn't on anyone's property. To our relief, we were in the clear for several miles around the area. We decided that since we were able to get to Friday... Fucking shite, mate. We decided that since we were able to get to Friday... Wait, why do I keep reading? To get to Friday. We decided that since we were able to get Friday... Oh, okay. We decided that since we were able to get Friday off of work, we would pack up Thursday after getting home and head out that night to squeeze the most of that. Damn. I've ran out of words for the night. I know. I don't know why every time I fuck up, I like immediately break into like some type of UK accent. Fucking shite, mate. We decided that since we were able to get to Friday... Oh my god. We decided that since we were able to get Friday off work, we would pack up Thursday after getting home and head out that night to squeeze the most out of our trip. Fast forward to Thursday night. All of our gear was packed and we had all the food, water, and illicit substances we would need for 3 days of unwinding in the woods. As we pulled up the familiar grassy road and came around the bend, we saw the reflection of our headlights glaring back at us from the darkness, like the eyes of a large demon, angry that we'd intruded on its slumber. It was the taillights of a parked car. Our hearts collectively dropped as we slowed to a stop and decided what to do. We could hear a dog barking and saw a tent set up near the car, so we decided to turn tail and head home in defeat. After regrouping at home, we decided that if we tried again the following night, it would be enough time that hopefully whoever was there would have packed up and left. Fast forward to Friday night, we pulled up and the car was still there, along with the tent and the barking dog. Big letdown for sure, but after a brief talk amongst ourselves, we decided to risk it and stay. We parked on the roundabout about 50 feet away from the car and tent and hiked up the trail so we could be away from whoever was already there. We got out and the dog's barking reached a feral crescendo. Based on the fact that it hadn't already come over and started mauling us, we assumed it was leashed up or something. We quickly put on our packs and hiked up the trail in the dark with our flashlights on. It was a creepy walk, especially since everyone was practically holding their breath in fear of someone coming out to yell at us for trespassing or ruining their night or something, but nothing happened. After making it to a good spot and setting up camp, we got right to partying. We joked about what camper or campers we passed must be thinking or doing right. Whoops. If Flavor Flav was a bird, he would say, it'd be kind of funny, like a little bird with a huge like clock necklace on his neck. It's like a Flavor Flav bird with like grills. You know the time. Do you think it's possible that like humans can actually go Super Saiyan in some way? Because I was thinking, I don't know, like say you're like really geared up for a big squat or whatever, but you're like, fuck it, we're gonna throw on 100 additional pounds. Do you think maybe the adrenaline from like having 100 additional pounds would push you through your fear of death in that situation? Probably not, because you would bail on it or whatever. But I feel like there's got to be a way to like naturally tap into like your adrenaline stores. Maybe you could inject it inside of yourself, or maybe you could sniff something and it would be like immediately activate adrenaline, and then you could just like I guess that's why crackheads are so strong. They're always smoking crack and they're just 110 pounds, but they're stronger than fucking Goku. Touch me, Joel, and I'll zip you up. What does that mean? That's how the Hulk became the Hulk in the TV show. Yeah, dude, we need Hulk drugs. And not ones that like give you cardiomegaly or anything like that, but just a temporary, like, sort of Bane from Batman situation. Just like a bit of juice coursing through our veins. No side effects, of course. I was gonna say we should send crackheads to war, but I just realized that that's actually already what we do. Like, whenever people go out fighting for like days at a time, sometimes they'll just like straight up smoke crushed up Adderall and shit, and I'm like, well, I guess we've had meth usage and war figured out for quite a while. He's literally researching the stories of mothers who flip cars to save their kids. He wants to tap into that. He becomes the Hulk. No side effects. Get your... Oh my god. There we go. See, we all arrive at the same position. Anyways, I could have been the creator of the Hulk comic. I could have been a garbage man. We joked about what the camper or campers we passed must be thinking or doing right now, and tried to scare each other with half-cocked theories about whoever it was and what they might do to take revenge on us for barging in on their quiet evening. Little did we know, the memory of our trip would be ruined in a way that none of us could have guessed. Eventually, we all fell asleep and the next day rolled around. I spent that Saturday hiking further up the trail and exploring. Nothing major happened, and we ended the night much the same way that we did the previous one. Sunday is when the story takes a turn. Everyone was tired, hungover, and pretty much ready to go back to civilization, so we started hiking back to the car. When we got there, we all noticed a complete shift in the atmosphere. I can only describe the scene as eerie. It felt like all the life had been sucked out of the wilderness. The wilderness. Now, in the comic, he's caught in a nuclear test site. Oh, okay. In a TV show, he experiments on himself. 2 creation stories both get you the Hulk. Oh, I had no idea. I figured they would have all stayed, like, pure to the nuclear testing. Nuclear. Dude, the Hulk is so sick, though, dude. It's like one of my... I don't know if you ever play video games, but Hulk Ultimate Destruction is a game that's on the old Xbox. I don't know if it can even be downloaded on Steam or any of the other like modern stuff, but it's basically the open world Spider-Man games, but as the Hulk, and it's so fucking fun. And I just feel like there's just something so simplistic about the character of Hulk. He's just smart genius and Hulk smash. In the comics, it's atomic. In the movies, now it's genetics. Oh, okay. I do still think the Bruce Banner. No, Bruce. What the hell is that guy's name? He was a good actor. Bruce Banner. Am I getting his name wrong? Not Banner, but the actor. Eric Bana. Oh my God, sorry. I always forget his name, mainly because I'm mixing him up with Bruce Banner himself. But I still think that Hulk was one of the best. I mean, the CGI is now aging, but it's definitely taken a while for it to age. Brunch Banner, played by Billy Bickford. Basically need this limitless pill in our Hulk, yeah. I need something that just, like, basically slows down my eventual dementia. That would be sick. It's honestly very strange sometimes to just think like one of the greatest limitations of the human mind is literally itself, or just human progression in general. If we could just like remember everything on a dime. It's weird that it exists inside of our brain. It's literally in there. It can be found and accessed, but we just sometimes, and me more frequently than others, just like struggle to get to it. But then I'll remember shitting my pants in second grade forever. Never forget that. I wonder if Eric Bana will ever return to stand-up comedy. Eric Bana did stand-up comedy? No fucking way, really? Let me check this out real quick. I mean, whenever he was in Star Trek, he was pretty fucking funny in Star Trek as that bad guy. I don't know, I really do like when... Oh, wow, he was in a lot of shit. I don't know. Being an actor must just be such a fascinating life. It sucks that you just have to stay hot forever. You know what I mean? Like when you're an actor... It's like it seems like you hit 25 and you're at like peak adulthood or whatever is like form, and then you just have to like somehow until you're 50 look the fucking same forever. Like how the fuck do they do that, dude? Maybe it's just good genetics. I mean, obviously I'm sure they take care of their bodies and all that kind of stuff, but like looking young all the time. I mean, maybe you just accept it, kind of like a Russell Crowe situation, and drink and eat French fries and just play the older fat guy, but man. Yeah, I wanted to be an actor. Listen to Patton Oswalt bit about meeting Brian Denny. So funny, great bit about movie stars versus character actors. Like, yeah, I'll write that down. Fellow Ratatouille. That was his magnum opus. Crow or Cruise, yeah. Wonder if the new Mission Impossible is good. I really haven't seen any of the Mission Impossible movies. That's bad to say, but I did see a little bit of Mission Impossible 2. And it was kind of like all over the place, and I think it was directed by some like director that doesn't normally do that kind of stuff, and it was so fucking insane, actually. And that would be amazing if he directed this one that recently came out. Joe Ferrigno. It was him. Okay, oh yeah, I was over here, sorry. When we got there, we all noticed a complete shift in the atmosphere. I can only describe the scene as eerie. It felt like all the life had been sucked out of the wilderness. For the first time since arriving, the woods were completely silent. The car was still there, and so was the tent, but we didn't hear the dog. The dog. John Woo, that's right, dude. The John Woo Mission Impossible shit was nuts. I kind of feel like they should have just stuck with that aesthetic forever. Now, I know, like, maybe they wanted to take it a bit more seriously, and maybe people consider John Woo's direction a little schlocky or whatever, but it was fun. There was a video game that John Woo, I think, sort of directed or consulted with, but it was a game that really focused on the oh, that's right, John Woo, the bullet time from John Woo shit is what influenced Max Payne. And then there was a game that kind of like used the John Woo aspect, which then people said they copied Max Payne, but it was actually John Woo that came first. And yeah, it was sick though. The car was still there, and so was the tent, but we didn't hear the dog blarking anymore. All the Mexican standoffs in Tarantino movies. Yeah, I still haven't seen, what's it called? How to Be a Californian. What the hell is it called? Tarantula Latino. Hollywood, yeah, the Hollywood movie. Ah, fuck. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, sorry. I can't remember shit. Hard Boiled, oh yeah, dude, so good. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I still haven't seen that, and I'm curious if in fact it is good. That movie's awesome. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I'm glad that, you know, I really don't know any movie along the lines that Tarantino was at his not-so-gooderest. But I still haven't seen Jackie Brown, and I really want to watch Jackie Brown. 1997. It's crazy. I've never seen it, and no one's ever spoiled it for me either, so that's kind of always wild. It is maybe his best movie ever, Jackie Brown. Oh, shit, okay. Joel Brown, directed by Tarantino. Now, what the fuck is going on with this story? The car was still there, and so was the tent, but we didn't hear the dog barking any... Dude, I'm like... words are getting stuck in my mouth. The car was still there, and so was the tent, but we didn't hear the dog barking anymore. Being daylight now, we could see more of the encampment. It was unusual, to say the least. The car was up on the type of little ramps people use for working on their vehicles. The tent was open, and there was a plastic fold-up picnic table set up next to the car with all kinds of things on it. Motor oil, transmission fluid, automotive tools, a gallon of milk with the lid off, paper plates, miscellaneous food items, etc. And it looked like someone was working on their car in the middle of the woods and stopped to prepare a meal, only to seemingly vanish into thin air. Curiosity took over better judgment, and we decided to have a look. Walking cautiously through the campsite, we looked for any clues about why the person, or people, could have left in such a hurry. And my mind immediately went to the missing 411 cases. One of my friends pointed out that the windows of the vehicle were heavily fogged up, so we tried our best to peer inside. The windows were also pretty heavily tinted, so looking through them proved difficult, but the fog hadn't quite reached the edges of the glass, and this made it possible to just barely see the silhouette of a large dog. There was a large dog. Based on Elmore Leonard Rum Punch. Nice. Jeremy, what's your favorite movie or show, or maybe both, of all time? And why is it Soul Plane? And why is it Friday After Next? This made it possible to just barely see the silhouette of a large dog in the back seat. It sat there upright and panting hard, but not moving or making any other noise, and my heart sank. It was Sunday morning, and for all I knew, that dog had been trapped in this car since Thursday night when we first arrived. I assumed that's why it was... Oh, okay. So literally no one was there forever, so this guy just went missing. Did you enjoy reading when you were younger? I did not, no. I had a reading issue for most of when I was younger. I did not know how to read till I was 9. As bad as that sounds. I just hated it so much, and I don't know, I just always pretend, I would just pretend, you know what I mean? I would just yeah, that says fucking shit and fart. I don't know. But, I don't know, it really wasn't a huge priority to my mother that I know how to read or anything like that, you know? And it definitely made school not fun. But then once I learned, it was okay, now we're caught up and we're good to go. Am I good at math? I don't know. I mean, I remember only being good at math when I practiced. I had to, I couldn't just hear what they were saying in class and immediately get it. I guess I would understand the concept, but I would have to do, I would really have to lock in and do a shit ton of practice problems to be but then it was kind of learning a karate move or some shit, or a dance move, or perhaps your way around a cave. Once you practice just something enough, you're oh, I played that song before, and then you do it. Yeah, that's all I was cool at doing, is being cool at lunchtime. Did you see the NFL schedule released today? I did not, no. Does it look sick, nasty, cool? Love Soul Plane. Favorite movies, so many. Favorite TV show, Sopranos, The Wire, Breaking Bad, hell yeah. Man, Sopranos, holy shit, dude. Just the character of Tony Soprano, I don't even know if it can be... I don't know if it can be matched. It's just... He's like my dad. He's my long-lost father. Shit. Alright. I assumed that was why it wasn't barking anymore. It probably didn't even... I assumed that's why it wasn't barking anymore. It probably didn't even have the energy and was likely badly dehydrated. We debated what to do and decided trying to break a window or open a door to let the dog out was a bad idea, since it could be violent or hurt itself on the broken glass trying to get out itself. Since we didn't have cell reception... Damn. Joel Soprano. I don't know. There's a certain appeal, though, to the manner in which Tony Soprano handled his problems. You know what I mean? It sounds bad, but, you gotta admire people who, saw an issue and, took some brass knuckles to the problem. You know what I mean? It just... There was never a problem in the neighborhood. We didn't have cell reception. We decided with heavy hearts that the best choice would be to drive back to town and call animal control as soon as we had service. We left, and I made the call and did my best to explain the situation to the person who answered. He told me, man, why do I keep breaking into a weird accent? Vic Mackey, Dexter Morgan. They handled their business. I think my favorite, one of my favorite scenes, though, from his... He's stressed out. He's stressed out and he grabs the gabagool or whatever. Just the fine cut meats, It's just he's stressed out. Time to eat my lunch meats. I can relate. And he just has a heart attack and passes out, and it's just so fucking funny. But I think he's like staring, as he's doing, he's like staring at a box of like Uncle Ben's or something. I don't know why, or something like that. It's just so good. Could I say hi to your son, Liam? You're his favorite. Say hi, Liam. What's up, bro bean salad? He'll be so excited. What's up, bro bean salad? Liam. Join. Let's see. Join the basketball team. There you go. He never had the makings of a college athlete. Oh, man. Yeah. Liam is 35. And he joins basketball. That would be sick. He told me he would head out to the area in a few hours and update me on how it went, and I thanked him, and that was the end of the call. I waited around for hours to hear back from the guy, and I started getting restless. Worried for the well-being of the dog, I ended up calling him back when it reached around 7 p.m. He said he tried to follow my instructions, but to my dismay, he mistakenly continued straight down the gravel road for several miles rather than turning right into the grassy road. That sounded weird. It's so weird when you're hungry. You'll just eat anything. Deep fried shit, I'll take it. But then if you were to eat like a chicken breast, the hunger goes away and you're like, okay, I guess I can manage having some degree of discipline. Hey, Triple, no worries. How often do I get a haircut? Oh, I don't know. Sometimes it gets a little away from me. I should probably go like every 3 weeks, honestly. Yeah, I saw like, I go to the grocery store and they have like the shit that they're like throwing out essentially in the back for like baked goods. And that's always like dirt cheap, and I'm always just so fucking tempted to buy a fucking dozen of just like glazed, succulent Chinese donuts. Has anyone ever told you that you give good hugs? Yeah. I feel like I vaguely recall a hug compliment at some point in my life. At which point, well, honestly, the tough part is that once the chloroform makes it to their mouth, they don't have much time to really speculate. He said he tried to follow my instructions, but to my dismay, he mistakenly continued straight down the gravel road for several miles rather than turning right onto the grassy road. He had actually just gotten back to cell phone service when I called. He told me that he would head back there the next day and try again, as it was getting late and he had other calls that he had to get to. And I was distraught. I started debating Yeah, David Spade's so good. Man, yeah, what's your thoughts on Norm Macdonald? I miss Norm Macdonald. He was a gem. I think him and Spade were pretty good buddies. I think the weirdest thing about like Norm Macdonald to me was like you could tell that he was like trolling. Like he was constantly like trolling his friends or like various people he was interviewing. And it was strange that like these professional types, it was like they were incapable of like picking up on his sarcasm. And I don't know, it's just like weird how, like, I understand his sarcasm was thick, but I mean, that was just his manner of communicating, and it's weird that they were like being friends with him for years, but like unable to differentiate it. Yeah, that's true too. And it's, man, it was like you could tell that he was like, in some degrees, like hurting inside whenever he would sit there and, you know what I mean, like start to wax philosophically about, something that he read or something obviously very deep, and it's just like no one would listen to him. or want to listen. Kaufman, Steve, yeah. You're just a man on the moon, man on the moon. I started debating heading out there myself to let the dog out of that vehicle, but ultimately decided it would be best to let the professionals handle it. I had no idea how good that decision was at the time. The next day I heard nothing back from the animal control guy despite several calls from me, and by about 7 p.m. I was really frustrated, desperately hoping for the best, but ultimately fearing the worst. That's when one of my friends, who had been silently browsing her phone for a while, suddenly gasped. When we asked what was wrong, she started reading aloud from her phone, and it was a news story from a city about 4 hours away from ours. To this day, I have no idea how or why they were able to report this news so quickly, and the story roughly went as follows. On Redacted Road, the same one we went down to camp, in the town of Redacted, Animal Control was called about a dog trapped in the vehicle for several days. When they arrived on the scene, they tried the door of the vehicle, which was locked. The Animal Control... Damn, I thought there was going to be something, scary. I didn't think it was going to be a dog dying. You want push-ups again? I guess I could do push-ups. It's been a while since I did... How did we do the push-ups before? Was it just go until I die? We'll do them at the end. Oh, we'll do them before, because I still have to read Horror on the Rocks' story that he sent me. So maybe I'll do the push-ups and then I'll go take a break and take my magnesium. Take your magnesium.